Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are joining us today. Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday and week so far. Make sure that you can see us and hear us. Find the chat and let us know where you are joining us from today. We have a really awesome workshop planned for you guys today, and we're going to be diving into that just a few minutes. But if this is your first time joining us on our digital events, welcome. We hold webinars, roundtables, workshops, and onboarding days to share some insight and some actionable information with our SEO community. So that helps us make the most out of our tools and hopefully give you some takeaways that will help you increase your traffic to your own website. So today we're going to be covering real world tips from SEO pros who use SE ranking. There's a lot that's happening over at SE ranking, and this event will actually help shed some light on the powerful, maybe overlooked tools, features, and strategies. So I want to introduce myself real quick. My name is Aaron Sparks. I'm the president of Site Strategics, owner of Edge Media Studios, and the host of Edge of the Web podcast. We have a 12-year-old SEO podcast. I'm a founder of Site Strategics, and I've had 30 years in the digital marketing space. Pretty long career there, but at the same time, I've also been able to see a lot of tools come and go, and I certainly do want to be able to appreciate SE Ranking for asking me to join this webinar and share a little bit of my insight as well. They got a fantastic tool set. Just let you know a little bit about SEO, SE Ranking. Yeah. They have some incredible accolades for years gone by, even as early as the fall of 2023. G2 has them as a leader, best support, as well as best usability. Just have a look at some of the accolades that they actually have. Check out by the way, the deck is actually going to be available for you, so you can have a look at all this information as we go through it. So that said, let's talk about the tool set itself, right? There's specialized tools for every SEO task. They have a complete SEO toolkit leveraging 30 powerful SEO tools to do keyword, competitive research, backlink research, accurate data. They've got AI-powered algorithms and unique data sets. It's a fantastic tool set. One of my key thoughts or key insights into SE ranking is when I first got introduced was our page changes monitor. It's fantastic to be able to watch your competitors' changes on their different specific web pages that you're targeting for competition. They also have some fantastic insights from AI, as well as a really great local marketing tool set. So check that out as well. You know what? We also want to make sure that you know that SE Ranking is trusted by 40,000 companies. They're listening to the feedback, which resulted in that many companies trusting them for their primary tool set. That said, that could be one of you as well. So hope everyone is doing great and excited about today. Let's do some level setting here. Our workshop's about to last 2 hours. Just want to remind everybody not to hesitate and write your questions into the chat, and we will do the best to actually address them. We'll also send you a link to the replay of this video as well as the presentations. And we're also going to be sharing a special bonus at the very end of this seminar, so be sure to stick around if you would. That kind of covers everything so far, so let's take it away here. Going to break down the agenda here. We're going to be talking to Helena Kuzmovich, talking about a quick tour of SE Ranking. Connor Wilkins, who is going to be leading us on how to create a winning SEO proposal. Ben Feltwell, who's also going to be doing the keyword research journey, as well as wrapping up with Mindy Weinstein, who's also talking about effective client reporting, all coming out of the SE Ranking tool. All right. That said, let's jump into our first feature here, a quick tour of SE Ranking. So Helena Kuzmovich has been teaming marketing and SEO for more than 10 years and still believes that the best marketing should feel like marketing at all. At SE Ranking, she is making sure that the platform matches user needs and is able to provide an efficient solution to any SEO challenge. So welcome to the webinar, Helena.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Aaron, and welcome everyone to the workshop. I'm happy to join today to give you a quick overview of the platform. And today, my aim is to make sure that no features are overlooked, that you can find everything that you need in our tool set, and that you can make the most out of SEO ranking.
Take it away.
Sure. Thanks very much. So I'm going to share my screen just to make sure you can see what I wanted to share with you. I wanted to mention that this quick overview will be interesting not only to the new users, but also to those who are probably familiar with the platform, worked for a while with it, but we are constantly developing. So a lot of features were added, improved, and could be overlooked by you. So I think that you can make the most out of this journey. And first of all, I wanted to show you a general overview. That's how SEO ranking looks like from the inside. On the left, we have a navigation menu. If you have been using SEO ranking for a while, you probably know that we've changed it recently. We've had another look and feel, but we find it more handy right now, and receiving feedbacks from users that it is now looks much more convenient because everything is stored in one place, and all the tools are categorized logically under the sections where you can easily find them. So if you haven't used the new version of the menu, I deeply encourage you to use it and provide your feedback. The switcher is down below, but if you're a new user, you will be already working with this kind of view. Speaking about menu, our new little feature that I wanted to show you today is called Feature Favorites. From the menu, you can choose any tool that you want. Hover over the small icon on the left, and you will see a little star that you can click, and the tool will be added right on the top. That can be used literally with any tool, just to make sure you can find them easily. And all the tools that are more popular for you can be found very quickly here. And you can always remove them if you don't want to see them on the top anymore. Okay, now let's briefly walk through the tools that we have. But first of all, I wanted to mention that to be able to work with the tools, especially the project-related tools, of course, you have to add your project here. And so I have a lot of projects added already, but there are several options on creating a project. You can click on this button and you will be given a simple wizard, just add in some information on your website URL and on keywords that you want to add. You can create a project, and then you will be able to work with it with all our tools in the package. So having mentioned that, I've chosen the project that I want to show you, and then let's go quickly through the project-oriented tools, which are under the project sections. Here, of course, we have one of the most popular tools, rankings. Of course, obviously, rankings is one of the things that are most interesting for SEO specialists. So here we can see the dashboard where all the important metrics related to rankings are stored, and you can see them in Dynamics, of course. Next one is the tool called Analytics and Traffic. Here you can make sure to add all the data sources for your for tracking analytics. Recently, we've added also Matama Analytics, which is, by the way, totally GDPR compliant. So it can be a good alternative to GA4. And the more data sources you have in one place, the more convenient is tracking your project performance, obviously. Next tool is My Competitors, and it is fully dedicated to tracking well, obviously your competitors, so you can add anyone who you're interested to follow, and be sure that you are doing everything and knowing everything about your competitors. The tool that I wanted to pay more attention today is actually our new tool. It is called Insights. It's still in beta, as you may see, but it is already full of important data and receiving great feedback from users who already tried it. So I really encourage you to also try this new tool. It is aimed to provide you with additional data, insights related to your project specifically. So if you're looking for a low-hanging fruit to get the most of your SEO efforts, you don't have to do it manually. You just can check Insights and find some information on what could be done next. For example, you can find keywords and pages with easy to improve positions, information about keyword cannibalization. Also, we highlight pages with poor quality content if you have those. And of course, you have recommendations here on how to improve this content. And there are a lot of other things can be found here. For example, a cool feature is also competitors who jumped to the top 10. So you can see who of your competitors increased their ranking positions. And by analyzing them more profoundly, you will get more information on what could be done on your end to react to these changes. So this tool is really worth your attention, and hopefully will give you more information on what could be your next steps if you want to improve your SEO. And speaking about steps, the next tool I wanted to show you is Marketing Plan, which contains a step-by-step plan on working with your project. So you can fill it with any tasks and steps that you want to take to perform in your project. And cool features that we've added are task status and task priority. So we can assign each task a specific priority, and also you can assign them to some of your teammates. So everyone is aligned and works collaboratively. Next tool is Website Audit. Again, an important tool which helps you to monitor your health store, to understand if you have any critical issues with your website or any things you can improve in terms of your website health. Everything is here and is broken into categories, so you can easily understand what is going on and how you can improve your website. And in this project related section, you will also find tools like Page Changes Monitor that will help you analyze specific changes and important changes on your pages. Backlink Monitor to be on top of your backlink profile and analyze it efficiently, and social media module, which will help you to work with your social media. Now, I will move forward with non-project related category, which is called research. And while the previous section was requiring you add in the project, this one is not attached to a specific project, and it means that you can analyze any website. So you can perform competitive research. You can also perform deep keyword research, add these keywords to Keyword Manager, or group them, whatever you want, in a keyword grouper. And also, there are several tools here like Search Engine Autocomplete, Search Volume Checker, Index Status Checker, which will help you with your daily SEO tasks. So these are the tools under the section Research. Backlinks are very important part of SEO analysis. So we've decided to make a separate tab for backlink related tools. And here you will find backlink check and backlink gap analyzer to make sure you can, again, analyze and find all the backlink opportunities that can benefit your website. And of course, the audit is something that is interesting and could be highlighted more. First tool in this audit tab is called website audit, and I've already mentioned it in the projects, and so that you are not confused why there are two different website audits. The main difference is that in projects tab, the website audit is attached to a specific project, and here this website audit is a standalone tool. So you can literally analyze any website that you want, and you will get the same report without having to add it to the projects. Also, you will find here an on-page SEO checker where you will be able to see specific information of the page, and SERP analyzer, and on-page SEO checker, which are, by the way, AI-based, so you will definitely benefit from using these tools. I think I've run through all of the core functionality of SEO ranking, but apart from that, we have several add-ons that you will definitely find interesting, and I will quickly guide you through these features. First of all, it's content marketing, and under this tab, you will find content editor and content idea finder. We are making sure that our content marketing tool covers all the cycle of content creation from the very beginning, so from the content ideas to the actual generation of the articles. So you can edit and analyze any article here, and you can also make use of AI Writer, which will help you to generate your article based on specific keywords that you want and specific competitors' information. So compared to any simple AI generator, we make sure that our tool provides you with a holistic approach to content creation, and also we are making sure that your articles are always SEO optimized, full of keywords that are relevant to your project and can compete with your main competitors. Another add-on is called local marketing, and here you can work with all your projects which are local based. So in this package, you will find local rankings. You'll be able to perform audit of your local marketing efforts. It will also cover your Google Business Profile, business listings, and reviews. So everything to efficiently work with your local SEO is stored here. And moving to the next section, which is called Report Builder, we know that reporting takes a lot of time of our users, especially agency users. So we are trying to provide you with the report builder that could best cover your needs. You can add the sections that you want to add, visualize data the way you want it to be, and make sure you create your reports efficiently with no need to spend additional time for that. And speaking about agency needs, the special offer for agencies is the agency pack, which is another add-on, and it has some important features like white label that allows you to fully customize the platform's look and feel, just as you are using your internal tool, not a third-party one. You can also make use of lead generator, add users additionally, and make the most of the reporting with the report builder. And one more thing to mention, apart from the tools that you get in the agency pack, you also receive a special offer, which looks like adding to the agency catalog, SEO Rankings agency catalog, which allows you to get listed among industry leaders, generate quality leads, showcase your expertise, enhance your credibility. So everyone who gets the agency pack will exclusively be added to the agency catalog. And now back to the platform. I think I've run through all of the important tools. I could speak a lot more about the platform and its opportunities, but of course we have something else planned for today. So if you need additional data, you can always find it on our website. We have a lot of educational materials there, and you can make use out of that. Also, what I wanted to mention is that we are always interested in your requests, your needs, and we want to make sure that we provide the features that are exactly matching your expectations. That is why we prepared a very short 2-minute survey for you. The link will be shared in chat, and I will be really grateful for you if you can take some time to provide your answers about, in general, your expectations about SEO tool and some of the features that could be included that will give us the right directions to move forward with our improvements. So link in chat, and we will highly appreciate your taking time to take the survey. And another thing that I would like to mention is that exclusively for our workshop visitors, meaning you, we have an expanded free trial that is available by the QR code or the link that we've shared. So you will be able to grasp all this feeling of the tools and features that I've mentioned, to run through that, to have a test drive, and to understand how the platform can benefit your business. And when you will be registering, just make sure to provide your business email, because that will give you much more opportunities in this expanded trial compared to the providing personal email. For example, you will get more pages to audit in a website audit. You will get more keywords in Keyword Manager, more opportunities in other tools like Backlink Checker or competitive research. So I highly recommend you to provide your business email, and then you will have you will get the most out of this trial. I think that's what I wanted to tell, and moving forward to our next sections in the agenda. Thank you a lot. Erin, back to you.
Hey, more than welcome. I learn something every time we do this. I did want to mention that we wanted to have a quick Q&A with you, if we could possibly do that before we go into our next speaker. I'm going to go first because, yeah, I have a question that I want to jump into. Just knowing the different tools that I've used over the past 3 decades. Wow, that's terrible. Just annotation overlays on not only Google algorithm dates, and being able to see annotation for those inside of the systems, but also our own task effort annotation. Do you have systems to be able to actually give us control of that, different notes and milestones all the way through different timelines?
So the question is?
Oh, sorry. Do you have the annotation feature that not only gives us algorithm annotations, but also our own customization of milestones that we can put into there?
Well, I think that the answer would be that there are the possibility to add any notes
Mhm.
throughout the platform. So it's very handy, and it can be like not only the annotations on the algorithm, but also just the comments that you want to share with the anyone, with clients, with the teammates,
Mhm.
and so users use it wherever they want to just add and drop important information into the platform, and so it is visible to whoever is using that. I hope that
Fantastic.
that was the
It does,
question.
yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm full of coffee, so I got, like, 15 questions in one. And does that also cross over to, as you're looking at competitor changes and insights as competitors jump
Yeah.
into new spaces, do the annotations cross over into that? Like, if you're watching a competitor in the competitor, watch functionality, does that also cross over into that insight feature?
For sure. We are looking into these competitors. Actually, the insights are based on all of the information that is already stored in your project, based on your keywords, based on the competitors that you're following, and also based on that, we generate the recommendations that can be seen right there. So whenever you want to get more information on how you can actually work with that data, you can jump to that, and there will be short notes on what can be done further and what could be further next steps.
Fantastic. I've got a couple of questions here from the chat, if I could bring those in. What's one of the SEO ranking features? This is from Ruben Holmes. What are one of the features you think most folks don't use but should?
Well, I can't even choose one, I think, because
Completely unfair.
but
What's your favorite that you've been excited about here in the last couple of months?
well, yeah, obviously the insights, because it's new and it's something that we feel that it could benefit the users, just because we've had a lot of requests that, okay, we are receiving much data, but what can we do further with that?
Mhm.
And we've decided that getting these insights and getting some practical things will save much time for our users, and make sure to also know where to go from that data, and what kind of steps does it take. But another thing is also report builder. I think that a lot of agencies right now are struggling because they can't find the right format to do that. And
Right.
while we were speaking to people, a lot of them are using spreadsheets, which is not obviously the optimal thing. Others try to do something in-house, but we think that by incorporating all the data that we have in report builder is a good thing for our users to save their time and to have this transparent kind of reporting that they are looking for.
Excellent. I have two other questions, if I could. Thank you so much for that.
Sure.
From Matt Distefano, hopefully I got that right. Which SE ranking tool do you see having the biggest impact on improving a site's SEO? I
That's a
know.
tricky,
Sorry.
question,
Yeah.
because that reminds of the question how to improve your rankings like in a day.
Right.
But I would say that it depends on your focus. Of course, a lot of impact is actually coming from website audit, because that's a constant monitoring of your website's health.
Mhm.
So if you see that your score is not okay, that and you improve all these issues, you will definitely see the impact in the future. But apart from that, I would say it depends on the focus of your business. I know that some agencies are deeply focused on content and do not care about backlinks, for example. So they use content marketing module together with keyword research, and
Mhm.
they get a lot of impact there. Some are more focused on backlinks, so they use our backlink tool, backlink monitoring, and
Sure.
find the right opportunities there. So it depends. And local SEO, of course, if you're working with local clients.
So I got it. It depends. That's the constant SEO joke. So yeah,
Yeah.
just going to use it. Last question from James T. Joy. TJ, could you show a couple good ways of setting up KPIs for estimating potential growth? You don't have to do that right now, but do you have any place where KPIs can actually be put into the project? And then not only KPIs from a performance standpoint, but probably some sort of additional goal setting inside the application for the individual project. I know it kind of depends on their focus, but what other factors can we contribute into making sure that we're seeing the success that we're predicting?
I guess that could be, first of all, you can always make the comparative analysis, and that's why all the tools have a historical data based on which you can see how your project performance changes over the days, over the period of time. We also have the daily rankings updates, so everything to make sure that you are proceeding with your performance. Apart from that, if you're speaking about specific milestone, you could set up certain steps in the marketing plan, for example, what
Right.
things should be done. And then by providing these things, you will definitely know that you're progressing. So that's the simple way
Yeah,
to.
and that's something, that marketing plan is actually very unique to your tool set. Most SEO tools, and we don't really call you like a full-on, I mean, you're full-fledged SEO tool, but you also have a good deal of additionally robust features to be able to centralize, operationalize the efforts inside the application. So fantastic. Thank you so much, Helena. I appreciate
Thank you.
the presentation and follow up with these QAs.
Sure. Very much.
All right, we're going to move on to our next presentation, how to create a winning SEO proposal using SE ranking, site audit, and competitive analysis tools. Check this out. I'm going to introduce you to Connor Wilkins. Connor Wilkins is the Chief Marketing Officer at Direction.com. He graduated from Florida State University in 2012 with majors in editing, writing, and the media, as well as consumer psychology. That's actually the silver bullet right there. Connor is an avid writer and researcher who specializes in identifying buyer personal journeys and engaging them through thought-provoking content. So, Connor, welcome to the webinar today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
More than well. All right. More than welcome. Well, we want to set you loose on how to create a fantastic proposal. Go for it.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I got a little presentation put together. So we'll run through some slides, and then I'd also like to actually dig into the tool itself. So yeah, today I want to talk about how we go about creating winning SEO proposals using SE Ranking Site Audit tool and the competitive analysis feature. So a little bit background information to kind of set the framework for this discussion. At Direction.com, we uphold 3 core values in everything we do. Those core values are to be innovative, be positive, and be a winner. And be a winner is really where this shines and where this comes into play. So we do not believe in a one-size-fits-all SEO campaign. We don't really technically have any sort of minimum engagement or unpackaged offerings. Instead, the way we approach every new relationship is following an initial discovery call where a client might come to or a prospect might come to our website, submit a form, and show their interest in an SEO campaign. We then meet with these people, tease out a little bit of information, essentially vetting them, getting information on their KPIs, their pain points, their budget, and really what they're trying to accomplish through SEO. And then from there, we turn to SE ranking. We run site audits, competitive analysis, reviews, and we do that so that we can determine what's actually needed to facilitate growth in a certain period. So most of our campaigns, we like to see an increase in average ranking position, organic keyword rankings, and organic traffic within that 3 to 9 month period. That should also coincide with an increase in lead flow. From the 9 to 12 month period, that's really when we want to, show them a return on their investment, essentially driving revenue through their business. That's how we do SEO. If we're not making our clients money, we're not doing the right thing. So after 12 months, they should be earning money through their investment. And then over time, as this continues, the cost to acquire new leads goes down, and the overhead for their SEO investment goes down because they're just making so much money. So whenever we meet with a prospect, we do ask a few qualifying questions. what's their monthly marketing budget? What's their current volume of inbound leads, desired volume of inbound leads, dream state results, really just gauging to see if they're a good fit with our culture, our values, and truly understand what an SEO investment looks like. And then from there, on that same call, we'll schedule a follow-up call and let them know, like, hey, we are going to look at your website, your current online presence. We're going to look at your competitors. We're going to look at how saturated your market is. And then we're going to present a proposal that will win you all of these results that we've now essentially promised you. And so once we do that, we immediately hop into SE ranking and start doing some of these audits. So today what I'll show you is how to use SE ranking's website audit and some of the on-page SEO checker tool, which is really good for initial optimizations around a homepage to make sure they're targeting the right audience. And then how to uncover important insights like competitors and keywords, how to identify foundational SEO issues, how to formulate a set of SEO campaign deliverables based on these findings, and how to create that winning SEO proposal. So before I continue, I want to talk about this one specifically, the SEO deliverables. So every single one of our SEO campaigns is approached from 3 pillars, essentially. We do content creation using AI writing tools, human editors, to really expand keyword coverage, make sure that we are meeting searchers at various points in the funnel to then drive them to that point of conversion. We also do robust digital PR where we're, securing backlinks on other, high domain authority websites that are sending referral traffic to our clients' websites, as well as, link juice. And then we also do technical and on-page SEO where we're making sure that every one of their pages is performing as it should. It's delivering value to their audience. We're creating a nice, healthy internal linking portfolio that really drives users through the website, again, to that point of conversion. So whenever you are, after you've vetted a prospect and you want to start this process of creating a winning SEO proposal, first step is to create a website audit. I'm going to run through some of these slides. I'm sure we'll have plenty of time. I got a bunch of other tabs open where I'll get into the system and actually show you how we do this stuff. So, and you'll notice I kind of blurted out. This particular one that I'm discussing here is a client who just signed. We tend to keep our client information private. So I'm just going to, blank out their name for now. But anyway, so the best way to do this, just go to audit here, all reports, hit new audit. To run a website audit, super simple. You're just going to put in the domain. As you can see down here, we have a few different folders where we house various audits. For the purpose of these, we house them under prospects. And then once you get your audit, SE ranking is pretty quick at generating these. They could, be generated anywhere from like 5 to 10 minutes. But the first things that we want to focus on, and again, we are using these insights to create a winning SEO proposal. We are not going so deep into this to create an SEO roadmap. When we create an SEO roadmap, we do that in month 0, right after they sign, where we then spend 4 weeks doing a bunch of additional research, competitive analysis, keyword research to create, silos and, content groups and things like that. So this is pretty high level, but at the end of the day, when you do present this to a prospect, you're already showing how committed you are to their success. You're already providing them value without them even having paid you. And so it really sets a great tone for the relationship. So with the website audit, typically where we focus is on errors and warnings, these 2 tabs here. So errors, those are things that we typically want to resolve within that month 0 setup. So in addition to doing all of this research and strategy development and building out the roadmap across these 3 core pillars of deliverables, we also do site-wide optimizations to ensure they have the healthiest SEO foundation from which us to execute the campaign month over month upon. So typically we'll look at the errors and determine really what's going to be the heavy lift in that month 0 to get this campaign into a good spot. But when it comes to outlining, deliverables, like how much technical and on-page SEO are we going to inject into this campaign every single month, we often look at the warnings. And the reason we look at warnings is because it's not uncommon for a single page, a single web page to have various warnings or issues associated with it. And so the way we do this is we'll find the pages that show the most potential, those low-hanging fruit, or the most critical pages that are really suffering. And we'll map those into our roadmap, you know, in the first 1, 2, 3 months. And we'll list all of these different errors that we found on these pages within that task brief and present this to them on the kickoff call. But looking at the warnings, you're really going to see, you know, which pages are affected most. You know, we're looking at things like, you know, are there duplicate title tags? Are there, you know, are the titles over 60 characters? Are there duplicate meta descriptions, missing meta descriptions, meta descriptions over 160 characters? You know, where's website speed issues, content textual issues, internal link issues, 400 issues, things like that. And we'll map those out. But really what we're doing here is we're saying, okay, so many of pages on this client's website are affected by issues that are holding back their search engine rankings. And so based on these findings, let's say they have, you know, 400 pages that are not performing well because they're not optimized well. We can then start to take averages and parcel those out month over month, saying, okay, this client might need 10 pages of technical and on-page SEO a month to, you know, start performing above some of these competitors that we found. Naturally, these things also have to fall in line with some of that budget that they've already shared with you. Because if someone says, hey, you know, my budget's $10,000 a month, and you come around and pitch a $20,000 SEO campaign, you're going to look like a jerk. So you do want to stay in line with some of their budget restrictions. But at the end of the day, you know, they came to you because you are the experts in search engine optimization. You do want to show them that in order for them to be successful in this frontier, they're going to need to inject this level of investment into a campaign. So we'll look at the warnings. Another cool tool that I like with SEO ranking is the crawled pages view, where you can go in here and kind of show, you know, where, based on the sitemap, where the most critical issues lie on their website. You know, is their blog most affected, for instance, or, you know, is the sitemap just not, you know, properly created and, you know, submitted. So that's how we use the site audit tool. Typically with the site audit tool, we're really just determining how much technical and on-page SEO that client might need to be successful and overcome some of these challenges. I also like to look at the on-page SEO checker. Again, this tool is right here. You just go to audit, on-page SEO checker, and do a new audit. So typically we do this for the homepage of a client's website, and we'll do some of their primary keywords. In this case, I did financial advisor. That's who this client that I'm demonstrating here is. They're a financial advisor firm. They're very locally focused right now, but their intention is to broaden into more of a national market. And that's the campaign that we sold them on. So typically we look at, you know, the SEO on-page checker, looking at their homepage based on, you know, this primary keyword and secondary keywords to, in a way, not only, you know, get a head start on identifying who some top competitors that we can review are, but also determine what immediate homepage optimizations need to be made in that month zero. In this case, what we discovered was we actually needed to de-optimize the homepage from a local standpoint to give it more national appeal. And in conjunction with that, they needed 12 brand new service pages that also had national appeal and covered their entire service offering. So that's everything that went into this campaign based on these findings. So again, with the SEO on-page checker, we could take a look at that. Right, I'll find it eventually here. So this is the on-page SEO audit. I just picked somebody at random. I don't know who Mission Wealth is. They never contacted me. So, but they're in the financial advisory vein, which is why I selected them, because it's pretty close to the client I'm demonstrating here. But with the on-page SEO checker, we can, you know, look at some of these top ranking articles for the term financial advisor. Naturally, these are not going to be direct competitors to Mission Wealth. You know, like Forbes, NerdWallet, Investopedia, Money News. These are news outlets. These are publishers that are covering the whole financial sector in its entirety. So they're not really direct competitors from a service offering standpoint. So in these cases, we would then, you know, literally just do some Google searches, look into their local market, their you know, regional competitors and things like that, to find competitors that we could actually, you know, reverse engineer and get a good sense of how much content they need in a campaign to overtake these people, how much digital PR they need in a campaign to overtake these people. So going back to this, the on-page checker, really great to determine some homepage optimizations in that month zero. You will find some good competitors when you use this tool. It might take a few different iterations of an on-page checker, but it'll still give you a good head start regardless. And then the next step that we do is document our findings. Before I go into this, I'm going to pop back into SE ranking and show, how we look at competitors using like the competitive research tool to kind of get a gauge and a ballpark of how much digital PR they might need in a campaign month over month, how much content they might need in a campaign month over month. So going back to Mission Wealth here, we've already looked at, this is their SEO audit. Again, I don't know who Mission Wealth is. But at any rate, with Mission Wealth, we can look at the top issues, go ahead and view all. We'll look at the errors to determine really what's going to be that heavy lift in month 0 to give them a solid SEO foundation. For instance, there's URLs with duplicate page titles. There's only 4 of them. So these are the things that we can clean up in month 0 to show immediate value, move the needle in the right direction right out of the gate and kind of satisfy them while we're working on all of the research and strategy development. So we do want to provide value in that month 0. But typically what we will also do is go to, the prospect's website using the competitive research tool. And we're going to see, how much organic traffic are they generating? How many keywords do they rank for? How many referring domains they have? And then based on some of the competitive research that we've compiled throughout, this journey, we'll then look at some other competitors. Again, I kind of just picked some financial wealth managers at random. So I got Covenant Wealth Advisors here, and then Root Financial Partners here. And so, we'll get like a list of like 5 top competitors and then see how many referring domains they have, where our prospect's website sits in relation to those, and then kind of take some averages to say, okay, one competitor has, 5,000 referring domains with, 20,000 backlinks. Another competitor has, 1,000 referring domains with 3.9 thousand backlinks. And then our, prospect site has, this amount. And so from there, we'll determine, over 12 months, we should be acquiring, 8 new backlinks to their website or more, depending on what the budget allows. And so in order to really get a good sense of where they're at right now, and then, how they should be performing in relation to their competitors, if you go to backlinks here, we're going to see, okay, they're acquiring a lot of new backlinks month over month. So that's like 229 new backlinks, 288 new backlinks, 209 new backlinks, 400 new backlinks. It looks like they have the digital PR thing covered, but we have to dig a little deeper because really what we need to be successful is referring domains, not purely backlinks. So if you click referring domains here, it'll open up a new tab where you can then run a backlink audit here. Helena pointed this feature out. So really what we want to see is how many new referring domains they're getting every single month. And if we look at that, we're seeing it's pretty low, 729 to 732. So they got 3 new referring domains. That's how we at direction.com deliver digital PR. They should be coming from separate domains. That way we're expanding their link juice. We're creating more authority from their website. We will not pursue multiple backlinks from the same referring domain. And so from what I can discern here is they had a nice little jump here, about 29. But then it starts to plateau where they're getting about 2, 1. So that will give you a good sense of how many new backlinks they're acquiring month over month and what you need to inject into their campaign to really push them past their competitors, again, within that, 12-month range where they're, then generating so much organic traffic that they're making quite a bit of money. The other area, so to recap real quick, so far what we've covered is how to tease out on-page and technical SEO deliverables using that site audit tool. Again, looking at errors and warnings, how to determine how much digital PR needs to go in this campaign based on their current volume of new referring domains, and then the volume of new referring domains that their competitors are getting. You should be doing this same backlink audit with the competitor websites that you have, that you're analyzing based on some of these findings. So look at the competitors, see how many new referring domains they're also getting. That's going to give you a good metric on what you need to overtake them. And then we essentially do the same thing for the content, looking at keywords. We'll go to, for instance, a competitor's website, look at the keywords, typically filter this where, we want search volume. I mean, let's say to start, you'll do search volume over 100. You could do search volume over 500, search volume over 1,000. It's going to depend on their niche and really what they're expecting here. We could then, organize this by how much search value. But this is typically where I like to look. What's generating traffic to this competitor's website? The term stock market crash is generating 416 monthly visitors. We got 102 monthly visitors again for stock market recession, 146 for market crashes. So these are all kind of in the same vein here. Determine capital gains tax. So they're getting about 63. So if I were to go into, my prospect site that I'm looking at, go to keywords. What keyword are we looking at again? Determine capital gains tax. We can quickly do a search and see like, okay, do they have a keyword that contains, this phrase? And if not, that might be a valuable keyword. And then we're going to start to parcel out, that content gap, that keyword gap between them and their competitors. And that's going to inform how much content needs to go into this campaign for them to expand their keyword coverage effectively, grow these rankings effectively, and again, overtake these people within a 12-month time frame that's pushing a lot of money into their business. So going back into the presentation, once you do all of these findings, or at least the way we do it, we always compile this stuff into a brief. We use our project management system. We use ClickUp. The reason we put all of this information into ClickUp is because that's where we manage our project. So when these clients do sign, we already have a really nice foundation for all of that research that goes into month 0. So we're setting ourselves up for success. We're giving this prospect value regardless if they sign with us or not, which really just sets the relationship off to a great tone again. So going back into not Mission Wealth, but the client who recently signed with us, these are some of the details that we teased out in their discovery call. They had a budget between 5 to 8K. They were getting about 15 leads a month, and that's on a really good month, and they closed 2 deals. But they were interested in knowing what it's going to take to expand their organization from this local gridlock into regional and national coverage, so that they're getting a lot more attention nationally from people interested in financial wealth management, consulting, financial advisory, retirement planning, and so on. So as they noted here, they want more rankings and organic traffic nationally. So these are some of the things we determined and shared with them, again, regardless if they were going to sign with us or not. So we determined that they needed 12 new service pages in month 0. This goes into that setup. It allows us to, get 12 national, service pages that are built out, really designed well for UX that would, increase their rankings for national coverage on some of these key terms versus locally, which is where they were pigeonholed. And that, we suggested 8 to 10 new articles monthly, 10 pages to be optimized monthly for this client, with 5 backlinks acquired monthly. And then we put a caveat here. Depending on their budget, we would go up to 10 backlinks a month based on all of the research we had done. So baseline, we want to do 8 to 10 articles a month, 10 pages of technical optimization a month, and acquire 5 new digital PR backlinks for them, up to 10 if they had the budget for it. And then beyond that, we actually detail this stuff like this. We show them a very loose roadmap of things that we want to do in, months 1 through 3, months 4 through 6, months 6 through 9, months 9 through 12, and then ongoing. And, in part, what we determined was that we need to assess their online presence, really solidify their local presence, lock down your local market so you can expand nationally. So ensuring they enact consistency across the board, restructuring their entire blog, their entire URL formatting. So this particular client was using the title from blogs to generate permalinks, which was, really missing the mark on any sort of keyword optimization. So we needed to restructure all of that in months 1 through 3, develop a strategy for their, we call them FFF. It's a certain blog category that's very short form content that doesn't have SEO value. So we need to repurpose it in a way that, wouldn't detract from what we're trying to do with SEO, but still allow them to engage their audience with the short form content. And then, like I mentioned earlier, de-optimize that homepage for the city location and focus the brand name and general wealth management and financial advisory services to lend the ability to rank nationally. And then, it kind of goes like this, where we're showing, everything that we want to do in months 1 through 3, from content, technical, and backlinks. And then, we actually list out all of the issues for them. So for instance, these are high priority issues. They have 349 missing meta descriptions, 317 URLs with duplicate H1s. Like, it's a bit of a mess. But, by doing this process, by giving them so much value up front, and again, positioning it as, this is what it's going to take to win. This is what it's going to take to make money. Because at the end of the day, SEO is an investment that businesses make so that they can acquire more leads, convert more leads into customers, and make more money. That's how we want to framework this. How are we going to make you more money in 12 months? You came to us. This is what it's going to take. If you go lower than this, let's say, this campaign was $8,000 a month. It was right at the top of their budget that they gave us. But we provided so much value in just these initial conversations that they were ready to rock and roll. And, we're just now kicking off their campaign. Their kickoff calls this Thursday, actually. But, we're providing so much value, and we're saying this, based on all these findings, like, this is really what you need to be successful. This is what it's going to cost. You could spend $3,000 a month on SEO, but you're not going to make a dent in the time frame that you want to make a dent. You're not going to make money back in 12 months based on everything that we've discovered here. And in fact, you might instead get a bad taste for SEO rather than really seeing how truly effective it is in terms of, transforming your website into a lead generation magnet. And so by presenting all the information like this, we're able to stay a little more firm on these high value campaign proposals versus, entering a conversation and saying, hey, our minimum engagement's $2,000, but we're recommending a campaign of $8,000, right? They're always going to go for that $2,000 campaign to test you out. And typically what that leads to is, churn. And whereas this approach here will lead to retention, it will lead to satisfied clients, it will lead to you making them money and being successful to the point where they're becoming your advocates and referring you new business. So that's what I got for you today. I hope I did not run through it too quickly. I'm happy to answer some questions here. So Aaron, I will toss it back to you if you want to. Let me stop sharing here.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that kind of showcase of your proposal. I did, being an agency owner myself, I just want to jump in there with a quick question, and I'll give it to the audience. Whenever, and this is a little bit more sales than tactical, but whenever you're presenting SEO proposals, there's always a challenge of the trophy words that the client has in front of them, as opposed to what the real value of even some long tail phrases are that you can see from a higher conversion rate standpoint from your practiced perspective. So how do you marry both of those into a proposal so the client seems satisfied that, yeah, they're getting heard about the trophy terms that they want to go after, but they're also kind of being guided over to, hey, this is where the real money is over here. Do you have any insight there?
Yeah, we kind of hold firm on certain things where, there's always clients that want to play a part in, the content approval, or, we actually want to rank for this. But we let them know, like, allow us to do our thing. Typically we don't negotiate on these deliverables. Again, we like to hit them from all 3 pillars. In the past, we've had clients who wanted to save a buck or two by doing their own content, and they wouldn't do the content. They wouldn't keep pace with the roadmap.
Right.
They wouldn't deliver the content. The results suffered because one of those pillars were missing. The same applies for if they're doing too much guidance into, what they want to rank for versus what the data is telling us they need to rank for to be successful. Because I can promise you, after 12 months, if I say, hey, we got you the keyword ranking you wanted, it's driving no money through your business versus, allowing us to direct these campaigns. That's fine. Now, one way we overcome that is when we do content roadmaps for our clients in that month 0, and they do want to participate in the content generation. Right. Let's say their deliverables that they signed on for was 10 pieces of content a month. We might do a roadmap with 15 pieces of content, 10 that are produced by direction, 5 that are produced by their team. That way they're feeling heard. They're able to contribute where they can. we also find that clients who do contribute and are very interested in how their campaign is progressing are the ones that get the most value out of it, stay around the longest.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
we kind of tread a line depending on really that person's attitude and what they want to bring to the
It's
table.
a tough thing because it's what they perceive as opposed to what you know, right?
Yeah,
In the space.
at a certain point, you gotta be like, listen, man, you contacted me.
Exactly. Do you ever put any type of ROI projections in your proposals?
So that's an interesting one, and I'm going to throw the SEO word out there. It depends.
Oh, come on.
No, so we've been flirting with this thing called the triple impact guarantee. It's new. We're still kind of working out how we're presenting this, but really what it says is at a campaign value of a certain amount, we guarantee increase in average ranking position, organic keyword coverage, and organic traffic and leads within 12 months, or we'll do SEO for 6 months for free.
Oh, wow.
That's the guarantee. Again, very new. We're kind of still working through the kinks, but in SEO, you never really find guarantees out there because there's a lot of conjecture and a lot of what ifs, like what if, and it depends on even the maturity of the domain you're working on. Like on a brand new website that they just created, I wouldn't be able to provide that guarantee. I can't get you a bunch of money, and you're not going to be ranking for thousands of keywords and generating 5,000 10,000 organic visitors on a domain that's a day old. It's that.
You have to have the while we're still friends conversation there, but it's also very important that they see that you're looking at that the same picture that they are.
Before you go on though, I would
yeah.
say to the prospect that I just showed you, who's in the financial wealth vein, we did add a guarantee to their contract that we would 12x their keywords. So that's in the contract. We're going to 12x their keyword in 12 months. So
fantastic. That's bold. That's bold, man. Thank you very much. I want to toss it over to some of the audience. They have a couple questions. One from Mayada Ibrahim. He says he manages 4 websites, but he doesn't know what's better to manage, each one a day or all at one time. It's also hard to find free backlinks that are good, especially. I mean, he connected to your backlink perspective as well. So, any thoughts there about how to manage those? This is a management concept, obviously, but it is also part of the audit that you just had a look at there. So, thoughts?
Yeah, so when managing multiple websites and ensuring you're keeping pace with all of these deliverables, if you don't have a plan in place, then you're gonna have some trouble there. Again, we use ClickUp as our project management system. We open the doors to our clients. So we actually use a client portal where we are putting public facing links from our project management system for them to view.
Mm-hmm.
They can log in and see all the work we've outlined, how it's being executed, what the status of it is, what was actually done on all of these pages. And so my suggestion for that is, one, create roadmaps for the content, create roadmaps for what pages you're trying to build backlinks to. That one's the trickiest because with digital PR, it could take anywhere from 4 to 9 weeks for that link to go live, depending on how much collaboration you need with revising the content once you're in talks, or even finding a publisher to do it. My suggestion with the digital PR and the backlinks, if you're creating the content or in these backlinks, try to find some, viral subject matter. I know that's a lame thing to say, but some viral subject matter, that you could put some data around, because data gets picked up really easily. Like, for instance, one of our top ranking articles is, how much does each industry spend on average? How much of their revenue on average do they spend on marketing? And I'm making an assumption article right now of how that might change based on the winner of the presidential election, using Biden and their previous, stances and impacts on our economy to show how figures might change across industry. And it's all conjecture, but everyone's talking about the presidential election. I'm using data. You can use ChatGPT to do a ton of stuff now. So
he just cracked the seal on the AI term. You realize that? He just opened that one up. So AI is certainly a factor in all of this, especially whenever you're dealing with auditing tools as well. And clients armed with AI could be very, very dangerous. So we want to make sure we give a cautionary tale there. And again, thanks for the presentation. And we're certainly going to have this show for recorded and links available after it. So with that, thank you very much, sir. And we're going to shift gears real quick. Want to make sure that everybody knows that there is an SE ranking community. You can test new tools before their official release. You can ask team questions. You can also enter into giveaways and win swag. We always love swag, as well as chat with some of the like-minded professionals in your marketplace. So check out that QR code because there's a number of different places that the community lives and breathes. So check that out. All right, we're going to pivot around and open up another session here. We're going to be going into the keyword research journey from discovery to sitemaps and content plans. Let's go. Introduce you to Ben Feltweld. Ben brings about 15 years of experience in digital marketing with a specialization in SEO and SEM. His journey in the industry includes leadership roles as the director of 2 digital marketing agencies, which provided him a solid foundation in the field. He also is seeking to share his knowledge and contribute further. Ben actually started Baldor Digital. And his focus of the company is straightforward: to help improve skills in both in-house and agency staff in digital marketing. Committed to the principles of brilliant basics. I love that phrase. He advocates for a focus on core competencies in digital marketing. His approach is about simplifying complex concepts and making quality training accessible. His work through consultancy and training reflects his dedication to helping others grow in the digital marketing landscape. Ben, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Aaron, for the welcome.
You're more than welcome. Hey, I'm going to give it to you to take away. Give us an understanding of the keyword journey.
Fantastic. So what I want to do is, following Connor's introduction and go through sort of the agency process, I want to take it back a step a little bit. And we tend to focus a lot on the different tools, the detail. We look at sort of the website audit tool, looking into technical SEO. We look at lots of different individual features. But what I want to do is just take a moment to take a step back, tell a little story, and take us through how we can combine some of the different tools in SE ranking, as well as external tools, to map out the entire keyword journey from start to finish. So we're going to start with just a concept of, we have a prospective client. We want to map out the keywords. We want to work out how we can use them, how we can research them, the whole expand and then refine back down to end up with something that is usable, that gives us something to work on. Now, the way that I kind of look at this is most of SEO can be simple, and we can spend a lot of time focusing on the really deep, the really detailed, and to be fair, for the geeks amongst us, which is most of us, let's be honest, the really exciting parts. But the core of SEO is what we call the brilliant basics. And it's something that we use quite frequently as a term. And it's the idea that if you just do the essentials really well, really consistently, it provides results every time. It always works. So what we're going to do for now, I don't like to share client data for obvious reasons. So I'm going to take a demo client. And I wish I would have known that Connor uses ClickUp, because I would have used those. Instead, we're going to look at Monday.com as this hypothetical client that we're going to be studying. And Monday.com is a project management piece of software. It's CRM, it's software, it's sales, it's development, it's whatever you want it to be. Very good platform, very powerful, but it's got a lot of competitors. It's a very competitive market, so it's prime for us to delve into a bit of research. Unfortunately, for most of the tools that we can use, we don't need access to the website. So we don't need access to a client's website before we start to work on it. And we don't need access to our competitors' websites to get an understanding of what's going on. So the first thing that we're going to look at with the keyword research journey is the quick wins. And this is something that I've heard a number of people say, even today, which is, what's the time frame on SEO? What are the guarantees on SEO? What can you return for me in SEO? And if we're being honest, we can't guarantee a lot, and it might take a fair amount of time because things just take time. What we can do, though, to expedite the process and to give ourselves a chance of starting in our clients' best graces and getting off to a good start with the clients, is to identify where we might have the quick wins, where we might have the opportunities to improve SEO in a shorter period of time. And rather than starting from scratch, a good place that we can do that is by starting from what we already have. when we're looking at keyword research, either via the Google Search Console, where we can, through Google Search Console, delve into the organic rankings that we currently have, or using the SE ranking competitive research tool, but focusing in on ourselves, focusing on our own client's website, we can start to look at the traffic and the keywords that we're already performing for. So using this, I've preemptively done Monday.com. We're looking at the organic traffic research within the competitive research tool. So it's all within the SE ranking tool set under the research area. Delving into it, we can see that they've got traffic. We can see that they're doing well. And what we can see straight away is they're doing well for Mondays, which is nice, but doesn't help us for much. We know that they're going to do well for Mondays. So the first thing we'll probably do is we're going to filter out to exclude some brand terms. So I'm just going to really quickly exclude some brand terms here. So exclude words that contain Monday. Ooh, if I can spell, there we go. So apply the filter. Instantly, we've removed Monday.com from their own search rankings in terms of visibility. This is so we can just see all of the search terms that aren't to do with their branding. This gives us a bit more insight and a bit more of an idea. From here, we can start to identify where there are opportunities. Now, in case any of you aren't familiar, a quick breakdown of how this tool works. You've got a series of different columns, starting with the keywords, self-explanatory. These are the keyword phrases. And if we look at them from the perspective of things like Google Ads or other tools, these are exact matches, the exact phrases. If we then look at the difficulty, this is a perceived difficulty on a scale of a percentage. So the higher, the harder. 69%, 77%, these are going to be very challenging, very difficult. Depending on the clients you're working with, that might be fine. You might be working with multinational brands who have amazing domain trust, who have amazing sort of established websites, and you have a large budget with a lot of team, a lot of resources, and you can just have at it and get competitive. That's not true for all of us. And looking at some of the chat today, I can see there's a few people I know and a few new people. And some of the people in the chat are saying, well, I manage a few websites, I manage a few clients. And for those, we just need to set realistic expectations. We need to understand within the difficulty what is reasonable for our clients. And it will vary, but it's a good benchmark to give us an idea of what's a realistic place to aim. The search volume, obviously the average amount of searchly traffic coming through via these searches. And again, all data should be taken with a pinch of salt. We need to apply context to it. Just because it says 22,000 or 4,000 or 200 doesn't mean that those are the actual numbers. They're indicative. They give us a good idea, and they're good at comparing one set of keywords against the other, but they don't tell the whole story. Years ago, I was running an SEO campaign for a big national brand, and we were looking into caravan specifications, exciting keyword phrase. And when we did the keyword research, it was looking like the search volume was around 1,200 searches per month for caravan specifications. We built a tool, launched the tool, and within a week, we managed to effectively take over the search terms for it. And the search term itself, caravan specifications, yes, was around 1,200 a month. It didn't account for all of the other variations. It didn't account for a Bailey, Oklahoma 2004 width or a Swift Avondale, all these weird and wonderful things that you get to learn when you dive deep into an industry like we know. And in total, that campaign generated somewhere between 60 to 80,000 visits a month through organic search terms. So search volume might have said 1,200. Don't take it at face value. These are indicators. These give us a good idea, but it's a good way of measuring one set of words against another for a fair comparison. Next up, we have search intents. So is it informative? Is it navigational intent? Is it commercial intent? Is it local intent? These might help when you're deciding for the business case reasons, why are we going to do this? What are these keywords actually for? Context around your keywords matters. And it might look like your keyword is very relevant to you, but when you search for the term, it might pull up something you don't expect. Something you thought was a service might actually be an e-commerce transactional product-related search, because you hadn't realized that's the way the context was carried. So this search intent can help shortcut that. And finally, the SERP features, well, penultimately, the SERP features give us an idea of featured snippets, reviews, videos, all these other features that can fill up and, let's be honest, clutter the search results. So depending on how many features there are, it might give you an idea of how visible are we going to be, even if we're competitive in the top for these terms. But also, it might give you some little nudges to say, well, actually, there are lots of alternative ways people also ask videos. There might be other angles to these SEO keyword phrases that we're targeting rather than just pure content. So I find these as good at generating ideas as they are at telling you how difficult it might be to sort of appear in the search volumes. Finally, we have our positioning. And again, these are taken on a regular basis. I think they rank them, SEO Ranking do these on a monthly basis, roll through the rankings every month. They can correct me if they're on the chat and I'm wrong. But they will regularly review the positions, check and update them, and that gives us a good idea of where the sites lie for this. What we're going to look at as a result of that, and what we need to then focus on to begin with for the quick wins is, right, where are we nearly doing well? Are there any search terms here that we're nearly in the top 10, we're nearly in the top 5? Because these search terms might have a lot of volume, but we're not getting the traffic. And with the best will in the world, SEO isn't about vanity metrics like how far up we rank. SEO is about traffic to your website, organic traffic to your website on a repeatable, regular basis. So if we can identify areas where we have a good search volume and a reasonable position, but we're not quite there yet, that might be something that we want to focus on. That might be something that we want to mark down and say, yes, this is, if we spent a bit more time on this, we could improve our rankings from 12 to 5, from 30 to 20. And whatever we're doing, if we can start to encroach into that top 10 space, we can go from nothing to some very substantial traffic in some cases with just a few pages worth of work. So for me, the quick wins in terms of the keyword research path is always to look internally, identify where you're already nearly doing well, and to start mapping those out. With all of this, we always need to bear in mind context. And even if you're already nearly ranking well, some of the keywords might not be appropriate. You're kind of accidentally ranking for them. So there should always be that kind of like just mental note of these need to be real. These need to provide real traffic, real interest. With that in mind, though, we can start to gather these ideas. Now, a feature that I long requested and was introduced, not too long ago, is the keyword manager list. And for tools like this, absolutely invaluable, because as you start to identify keywords that you find interesting, like Gantt chart, lots of popularity, very relevant. Yes, it's difficult, but these guys have the budget and we're nearly there. That is a prime keyword for us. So I'm going to check that because we want that. RACI meaning, yep. Action plan template, yep. We're going to start going through and identifying all of the keywords we're interested in that we might want to take further to the next step. At that point, once we've selected the keywords we're interested in, we can add it to a project if we want to track ongoing keyword rankings over time, or for this part, the research part of the journey, we're going to add it to the keyword manager list. And in this case, I've already created a Monday list, Monday V1, and clues in the name, we're going to have a couple versions of this, but the Monday V1 is where I'm just going to dump all of the potential keyword ideas. And at this stage of the process, starting with our internal research, we're going to identify as many possible relevant keywords as we can, select them all, and just get them into that keyword manager list. Because this way, we're taking lots of great ideas and we're just pulling them through to a separate location that we can start to manage all of these keywords in one place. Once we have completely finished our own website and we've gone through the, maybe not the 5,703 pages, but a fair amount of them, and we're happy with the amount of data that we've got there, we will then repeat the same process against our competitors. And the reason why we start with competitors on our own is very simply, there aren't many original ideas or truly original ideas left in marketing. Someone somewhere has already asked the question, so someone somewhere has already answered the question. If we can start with our competitors and we can focus on some top of their market, head of their game, key search and digital competitors don't have to be business competitors, but digital competitors, we can really identify the ones that might have already done this work and can give us a head start, where we can research from them and identify where their keywords might lead us. This one is for Asana.com, a key rival to Monday.com. Should have done ClickUp, but we can go through all of this. We can, again, filter out the brand search terms, tag all the keywords that we want, and start to build them together. What we're doing at this stage is we're just trying to pull through as many keywords as we can to create a single list. Our goal at the start of keyword research is to take a handful of ideas, websites, contents, topics, and just expand outwards to create as much breadth and scope as we possibly can. The reason for this, and the reason why keyword research matters, full stop, is because we do not speak the language of our audience. That's what keyword research is for. When we're doing keyword research, it's really about understanding the words and the language that our audience use. Over time, we've done many things where we might work with a client in the gas industry, and they know all of their terms, and they know that big red thing that you keep in your garage, you hook up to a barbecue and it produces gas, is a gas cylinder in the UK. However, in the UK, most consumers would call it a gas bottle, which is the American term, which nothing wrong with that. But in the UK, the general public use the American term, whereas the industry would force the strict term of the British one. So not realizing that the British audience speak using the American term is a massive missed opportunity. And just identifying that small section allowed a national leading gas company to double its SEO traffic within a few months, because it's about learning the language of your audience. That's what this is for. So we've started gathering the ideas, we've started putting them together, we've started building up our version 1 keyword list. And at this point, our goal really is to have a few hundred keywords, if not more. For a large scale website, I would probably be looking at several thousand potential keywords at this stage. But for a small to medium-sized client, a few hundred keywords is ideal because it gives us lots of scope. Once we've taken all of the keywords from our competitors and ourselves, now we need to fill in the blanks. If there are any services, products, ideas, or inceptions that we've had that haven't been covered, we need to manually do those. And that's where the keyword research tool comes into play. So the keyword research tool is about identifying individual keywords or small quantities of keywords and exploring those in more detail. So this is where we would start with our own ideas, but then we would also, through the keyword manager, identify keywords that we think, actually, this particular one, Gantt charts, seems to have a lot of popularity. Gantt chart seems to be quite popular here. So because it's popular here, did we discover all of the versions and variants through our competitive research, or are there some missing? So we can take a keyword phrase that was identified through competitive research or internal research. We can use the keyword research tool to then expand it, and using the similar, related, and other sort of versions of the sort of matched keywords, we can identify all of the different variations that we might want to target. Now, this is how you can go from a few tens of keyword ideas to a few hundreds or even a few thousands, because every single keyword that you identify might have multiple variations. And at this stage, the first stage, we don't want to rule any of them out unless they're just completely irrelevant by context. So expanding all the way out, we've got to the stage where we've exhausted ourselves, and fundamentally, a question I get asked a lot is, how long should we spend on this? Well, you should allocate as much time as you can to it. This is the research part. This is going to inform your sitemap and your content plan. Give it as much time as you can. Allocate for that. And if you finish a bit early, keep going, keep exploring. It will pay off in the long run to just keep the research going and maximize what you can. But now we've got our V1, we're happy. We've got all of these ideas, hundreds of keyword ideas. What do we do next? Well, we want to go through this in more detail, and now we want to get picky. Now we want to go through and start cherry picking the phrases that might actually be more relevant. This is where we're going to balance the volume versus the difficulty, the search intent versus the other features. If we're running Google ad campaigns by the side, we might also want to look at some of those features. And we start to balance all of these things, selecting the keywords that are most relevant and most interesting to take to the next step. And what we do as part of our Brilliant Basics method is we would then add it to the next keyword list. So we're not deleting anything, we're adding it to the V2. So we're reducing the results. And the V2 that we end up with, this one, is a narrow selection of our top picks from the V1 list. We've still got all of the other V1 keywords there, so we can go back to them, pull back from them if we want to in future, once we've exhausted V2. But this V2 list now is a smaller cherry-picked example. So we now have a more manageable list that we can start to work with. What we can then do with that is we can then start to group them together by theme, by content, by keywords, and by tags. So You can just export this straight to Excel. I know a lot of people do. I like to try and stay in SE ranking for a little bit longer, and I use their new tag feature or recent tag feature, and I like to tag up the keywords. You can use color codes and you can do it how you want, but the general approach that I tend to use is I use a color per type of tag. So if it's a type of, if it describes the format of something, so this is a format, this is a template, one might be a PDF, one might be an Excel spreadsheet or something. Whenever there is a mention of a format within the tags, that might be one color. Strategy, PR, marketing, sales might be another color. Things like the actual descriptor of what it is might be a third color. And this just helps me organize. You guys can do it however you want. It's entirely up to you. But I find that just tagging and grouping these things together really helps. And then at that point, we have groups of keywords, not just singular keyword, but groups of keywords together that we can relate together. This is the final part where I'll be honest, this is the part where I do leave SE ranking. So saying briefly goodbye to SE ranking, I would then export this into a spreadsheet. And at this point, we can then start to go through the keywords in much more detail and just pair them up together and say, right, okay, if we're going after a keyword group, can we theme these? A page or pages on their own are fine. But if we can create thematic content structures within our website, within our sitemap, where sections, parent pages, child pages, themed blogs all relate to one another, all share keyword similarities, we can create thematic content. Keyword pyramid structures, whatever you want to describe these things as, they're all the same meaning. It's this idea of a themed content that isn't just on-page content, it's cross-site content, where there's a thematic structure there. And this is where we need to start picking those apart and saying, well, some of these are effectively the same thing. So business strategy format, business strategy template, business strategy templates, plural, or company strategy template, all of these are variations of the same word. So which of these final selected keywords is our preferred version of it? Which one's going to be either the parent page for a mini series, or it's going to be the title and heading of the blog, whereas the others might form subheadings or in content sort of mentions. This helps us to create a really good hierarchical structure of keywords that we can then use to build out our sitemap. This is literally one of the most effective and powerful ways that you can run an SEO campaign when you're creating new content, is to build your sitemap and your content plan based on the keyword research and the structure that you want to bake into the website. We're not just putting SEO onto a website, we're building the website from SEO. It's similar, but very different. And as part of that, we can start to identify these are the pages that we need to build out. Here are the core pages that we want to focus on. And here are the kind of like the groups that we might want to bring them into. And by doing that and then labeling that into a website sitemap, and you might have multiple tools. There are lots of great tools out there for building out sitemaps. But once you've kind of built out your sitemap, you might discover that actually some branches of the sitemap would work well together. So rather than spreading yourself thin across the entire website, it might be you build out the website, one branch of the website at a time. So you focus on the same subject for a series until you have 4 or 5 pages built out, and then you can move on to the next part. And that's where the sitemap informs the content plan. And from that, we can actually create a priority order or a content plan order, and we can build out the pages based on the keyword. So just to reiterate, we're starting out with the concept of we have a client, we're looking internally. We then build that out through competitive research. Once we've got our version 1 of the keyword list, we're then going to expand it using the keyword research tool to identify things that we haven't yet covered or keyword opportunities that might be interesting and might be worth exploring in more detail. Also, as Connor said in the last one, or someone asked Connor, what happens if a client insists on keywords? The best response I found, if a client insists on certain keywords, is to measure the client's keywords, do a detailed keyword analysis on what they have suggested, and provide your preferred results and present them to them side by side and say, well, it's entirely up to you. You can use your language or you can use the language of your audience. We will do either, but we recommend speaking in your audience's terms. And by doing these things, you can just make the data argue for you. You shouldn't have to debate these things. Present the facts, let the clients pick them for themselves. And from there, you can start to refine it into a second version of the list, group it, coordinate it, and build out a sitemap and content plan. It really is that simple. It takes experience. It takes understanding, and there is as much science as there is sort of subjective understanding and interpretation of the data. And a lot of these come down to judgment calls and planning. But fundamentally, if we can get this right and set up a good pathway, it should make our content creation that much smoother, that much easier, and you know what you're working towards. So it gives you a really clear idea of where you're going, and it shows the client the pathway that you're taking for the next 6, 12, 18 months or beyond. So that's it in a nutshell. I want to do a nice, quick, punchy, and hopefully, Aaron, that has covered all the things that kind of like we wanted to go through on this one. But we do have time, I believe.
There's a lot there. Truly, thank you very much for especially the versioning of the keyword lists. We were paying close attention to that because that's a space in which we can keep on honing down those key focal points, no pun intended, as opposed to the gross mass, right? And that's always the fact that when you're doing keyword research, you're having to separate the wheat from the chaff and what's really important for that strategy. So Ben, we want to thank you for your presentation there, and everybody who's listening there and watching, they're certainly going to get the recordings of that. I do have one key question. Yep, did it again. Sorry.
Go for it.
Before I turn it over to everybody here, when it comes down to letting the clients pick their own keyword list without any type of backdrop, any type of research on their end, actually letting them bring their list right next to your list without any level of validation on their side. That's a pretty risky space whenever you're actually doing the matchup there.
And they will do it. They will bring the keywords because they will have their, chairman's wife's nephew's aunt's dog's son will come up to you and say, well, we read in the tea leaves that this is a good keyword.
Right, exactly. Without any type of tool set that we were looking at here,
Exactly.
be able to bring. But if you're bringing your tool, your list with data, with some market values, and on top of that, with intent, it can absolutely persuade them back into their seats, right?
And despite evidence to the contrary, I do tend to believe the best in people all the time. I do try to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, if you're bringing these ideas, there might be a valid reason for them. So I will run the research. We will do the audit. We'll do the due diligence. And we will check to see whether your ideas bring anything to the table. And if they do, fantastic. You've helped us. It will make it even better for yourselves and for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to have the buy-in you have to have the buy-in and listening to the client, even though their trophy words may not be that best strategy, at least they're communicating to you a good deal of their concerns, right?
Exactly.
Very good. Very good. Well, tying into that, last thing I want to ask is really the buyer's journey side of the intent of transaction. As you are tagging your different keywords with different strategy components and factors, we also have this kind of flight plan of awareness, consideration, and decision-making type of content. Yep. Do you also put that into some pattern recognition or manual tagging?
100%. Yeah. So awareness, consideration, conversion. I still use the older terms of PR, marketing, and sales because they're synonymous. We do the same thing. We tag them up each time. So is this going to be a lateral content brand awareness piece? Is this going to be a product or service interest piece? Is this going to be something designed to engage? Is this something designed for the existing audience? Is this a remarketing and reconversion stage? Is this something appealing to authority? We need to kind of identify what those are. And depending on the complexity and size of the content journey, it might be a very simple PR marketing sales, or it might be that we actually mark it up as part of an SB7 story or something similar, where we've got a much more detailed journey, and we want to work out where does this content fit into that journey, which obviously then helps to inform the content plan if there are deliverables in terms of which thing we do first.
Absolutely.
And it normally starts with the awareness leading into the marketing and then the sales. Very
good. Very good. Well, we want to pivot over to some of the audience here, and thank you so much for your time today. Again, Matthew Lane actually jumped in there a few minutes ago asking, what would you say is the highest difficulty score for keyword research before it could be classified as too difficult or impossible to use?
This is quite an easy one. Look at what you're already performing well for. If you, within your own competitive research tool, if you are already doing quite well for some really difficult keywords, let's say you're at 72, 73 for the difficulty of some existing non-branded keywords, then that's your level. That's where you can compete at, and you should be able to deliver those results again. If you can maintain an difficulty score in a non-branded subject, you should be able to get that again. If you think that you could just start at 20 and then hit up to 70, probably unlikely. But it's a judgment call. I think you should always try to be a bit more than what you've got before. So something that I like to set with the people that I work with, especially in the sort of training environment, when I'm training digital marketers, either in-house or agency side, is I just say, every time you do something, do it one better. So just improve one thing on what you did last time. If last time you managed to achieve a difficulty score of 52%, aim for 55 or 60. Just push it that little bit more each time, because if you don't push yourself, you don't learn.
That's a good rule of life.
Yeah,
All things being
great for hobby is great for everything. Yeah.
Hey, the Fallen actually chimed in there. He says, in terms of keywords, can you track multiple keywords individually attached to one URL or page inside of the software?
Yes, you can. So the way that the software works is, when we were tagging all those pages, tagging all those keywords, and I was selecting them all and choosing to add them to the keyword manager list, if I'd instead added them to the project, they would have been tracked on the project. We can group those together. So much like we would want to group the keywords, I'd always recommend that you group together keywords as you add them to projects. That keeps those keywords together.
There you
And
go.
it means that if multiple keywords relate to a single page or mini series of blogs, parent-child pages, whatever, and then all of the keywords that relate to that section of the site can be contained within one keyword group. And then all of those can be tracked, whether it's against a single URL or multiple.
Right. Understood. Now, sidebar here. Have you experimented in AI keyword clustering?
I haven't yet. No, I am decidedly old school. I've been using AI for a lot of things, but I've not used it for that yet. At least not in anger.
Matt Simon, this is actually a pretty interesting question as well. Matt Simon says, how do you prioritize keywords when everything seems important?
Really, this comes down to how much do you like being yelled at. So I like to focus on the low hanging fruit first. If you think I can definitely 100% do this, do that thing first. Start with those quick wins. As soon as you can, get the quick wins out the way. Because if you can just turn around to a client, or if you're working in-house or you're responsible to a director in your agency, to say, I'm going to tell my boss I did some work and it's brought results, that buys you time. So that's always my first priority. Give yourself some time, because the one thing that I've seen time and time again, it's a sort of sad state of the industry in some ways, is a lot of time people in digital marketing and SEO get a lot of negative feedback. They can get a lot of criticism. And I know people who jump between agencies, people get lots of horrible backlash because SEO isn't as fast as they hope. You can't control it's a real-time bidding war. It's a real-time auction house, effectively. We can't control what the rest of the world does. But if you can identify the quick wins, you improve your chances of doing okay for that area.
Let alone the fact that a helpful content update, spam update, and a link update come on the same day through a Google core algorithm update.
Exactly.
You never know. You
never know. And also, you never know if your colleague who works in the same agency is in a different team, is working on your exact competitor without your knowledge, and you're both doing the same thing, competing for the same thing. It shouldn't happen, but it does sometimes. So you might even be going against your friends, colleagues, and rivals. So you never know.
So at that point in time, we're talking SEO cage match, right?
Literally, let's get into the octagon.
Two go in, one come out. All right. Yeah. Last question here. You mentioned sitemap tools, and Paulina wanted to know what you recommend is some sitemap tools that are out there.
There's a number that we use for visualizations, but I still like spreadsheets.
Yeah,
I still find that you can't beat them for the ability to filter and organize. It depends on whether you're a visual learner or not. There's some other really good tools out there. I've used Octopus for a number of wireframes, and there are some great ones out there for visual sort of like recognition. But I start in a spreadsheet, and I normally finish in a spreadsheet. And then if a client insists that they want to see what it looks like mocked up, I then translate it to someone else. But for me as a working tool, I find that having that in the spreadsheet means that I can change a lot of data sets quite quickly. And I can also run some statements, and I can do some queries to kind of interrogate the data, which you don't need to on smaller sites. But if you start managing keywords where you're looking at hundreds of pages or more, you need something where you can manage the data. So
from a Sorry to interrupt you. From a visual standpoint, there is a tool out there I do recommend. That's called Flow Map with 2 P's.
Yep.
It's actually a really cool visual organization that can easily communicate to the client and see and show them where you are in your progress as well. As I tell you what, sir, this could be a long conversation. Ben, thank you so much for your participation in the webinar today.
You're very welcome.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks so much. Everybody who's watching right now, make sure that everyone that you know that you understand that everyone with a paid subscription can actually go and level up their SEO game right now by watching the courses on SE Ranking Academy. Here's a few courses that they have with Jason Bernard, SEO Basics course. You can actually check that out. Content SEO course with Joe Williams, How to Promote Your Agency course with Miriam Jesser. It's a fantastic course, as well as SE Ranking in Action. You can get a guided virtual tour of every nook and cranny of the SE Ranking tool. You can actually explore each tool in depth and check out all the different features and how it can help you with your business. Well, thanks for everybody staying around on the webinar. We're going to go into our 4th session here. We're going to pivot around to effective client reporting, how to present negative and positive results. All right. We're going to present our presenter today. Mindy, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. I am excited to talk about this topic, even the bad news part.
It's incredibly important.
Right.
Incredibly important. For our audience, let me introduce you. Mindy Weinstein, a PhD, is a McGraw-Hill author and a globally recognized figure in the field of digital marketing. She's a founder of the marketing firm Market Mindshift. I love that name. And has worked with and trained professionals from organizations of all sizes, including Facebook, World Fuel Services, and Arizona State University. She is a marketing instructor at the University of Denver and also has served as a program leader at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania and Columbia Business School. So she's going to teach us a few things or two about client reporting. Mindy, I'm going to be listening in avid attention here because this is something that we always focus on over our shop. So take it away, please.
Right. Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So let me share my screen with you and we're going to jump right in. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how this is going to go today. And just got to bear with me. So as you already heard from my intro, I have a very strong background in education and I have a PhD. It's in general psychology. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about before I take you to the actionable part of reporting is really the why behind, like, why are we reporting certain things? Like, why do we need to put visuals? Does it really matter? And so I need to talk a little bit about how that works, again, from the psychological standpoint. And then I'll get into the nitty gritty. How do we report bad news and good news? Because I will tell you, I have been in digital marketing for a really long time. And it's so fun when you get to report amazing news to clients. They're like, hey, look what I've done. And I even appreciate the conversation before I joined, even listening to Ben, is that sometimes things are hard and we can't control things. And so we need to know, how do we report to clients so that they continue with us and that they trust us? And so that's really what I'm going to be focusing on. So I got a little click happy there. So let's go ahead and jump in. So I want to focus a bit on the data storytelling side of things, because that is really what we're going to get into when we talk about reporting. Because as human beings, we like visuals. And I know there's conversations about being a visual learner or be more hands-on. Well, for what we're talking about in terms of reporting, you need to have the graphs so that someone could easily look at and see what's going on. But you have to have the narrative and, of course, the data. And so what I see happen a lot, and I've been guilty of this too, is that we're in it, when it comes to SEO. And if you're doing paid search as well, you're in that data, you know what it means. You can explain it very easily, but a lot of times we tend to just report the data, and it goes to someone who doesn't quite understand and can't read between the lines of what does that data really mean to me and my business. And so that's where the other parts of data storytelling come in. So it's not just about presenting numbers. I mean, it's about weaving in that narrative that resonates on a human level. And right now, this probably seems a little like, okay, like this is a little out there. Like, what does this even mean? Here's what it means. What do our clients care about? That's what it starts. What do they care about? We can report numbers to them all day long, but I will tell you from experience that I have had clients, and some of you might feel the same way, where I was really excited because, oh my goodness, look, their organic traffic has gone up, 50% since the month before or the month before that. And I'm excited and I'm reporting on that. But what I get back sometimes is, oh, that's great, but what does that mean to our bottom line? So we have to know what our clients care about, which really is key performance indicators. What do they care about? Do they care about traffic? I have some clients that absolutely care about the number of sessions organically. But I have other clients that they don't care at all about that. They just want to know how many people purchase products, meaning they just want to know the revenue that came from organic. So it's really important to have that conversation with clients right out the gate. And again, I'm telling you things that I've learned over the years. So I haven't always done this. It's just I try to always now remember is that you start on a new project, you talk to that client and you say, what are your goals? Tell me specifically, what are you trying to get out of SEO or paid search? What are your then, in terms of the goals, what would be a measurement for that goal? And that's where those KPIs come in. And otherwise, we're just reporting numbers. So to resonate on that human level, find what's important to your client. And you're going to have different people probably from the organization. So people are going to care about different things. So you need to know that. Maybe the digital marketing manager cares more about the traffic numbers, but then the CMO cares more about the ROI. So you need to know that again in advance. So here's where I'm going to geek out with you for a second. I can't help myself. I have to throw in some psychological theory, but this one is called dual coding theory. And again, what we're talking about with numbers and pictures, I mean, it's been proven with research. We know, and this theory has been around for decades, but we know based on this psychological theory that our clients will have better memory and recall when we are presenting to them. This is both visually and verbally. So of course you're going to go over things, but even textually. So giving them that, hey, look, here's this bar graph of our traffic. Here's the line graph of where we've been. They're going to remember that. That's what sticks in their head. Also with our reporting, when we're able to weave in the stories, like I talked about, which stories are just visuals in the narrative, then it's going to help our clients understand things better. So some of this you might be like, well, yeah, of course. And I do that too, like, of course. But then when I get into the reporting, I'm like, ooh, look at this number and that number. So it's a reminder that we need to make it as easy as possible for our clients to understand what we're reporting to them. Because that's also the increased buy-in, which is actually based on this theory too. If we can show key stakeholders, so that could be the person who hired us, from your client, that could be the CMO, that could be the CEO, could be the board of directors. You need to show how what you're doing with SEO, which you can do this with your narrative and your visuals, show them the importance of what you're doing and how it's making a difference. And then that's going to lead to better decisions. And so maybe the decision is you're showing them, here's where we're at. The decision might be, we need to build out more content. We need to get into video marketing. I mean, there's so many things that you could do, but you need to really focus on how at a human level can I really resonate with them. And so again, okay, I feel like when I talk about psychology, again, I get like, it's a little bit out here. So we're going to bring it back to make it more actionable. So what does this mean even in reporting? Okay, there's really three things. Number one, when you are creating a report, you always need to include a narrative. And I'm going to show you an example of what I mean. But basically, if you're doing a report or even a presentation, a PowerPoint, start with key points. So highlight your key points, make them bulleted lists. people like bulleted lists. They don't want to read they don't want to read a dissertation. I'll tell you, I don't even want to read my dissertation that I had to do for my program. So just highlight key points that are tied to what the goals were and show your progress. That's going to really help when someone's looking at your report to understand what's happening before they dig in. And also, I will tell you from experience that when you're doing reports, and you might already know this, I mean, it gets passed around a lot internally. So you don't know who all is going to see it, and you don't know if they're going to go through each page of the report to get into the details. So have that narrative ahead of time so they can pass it on. Some of my clients, what they'll do is they'll actually just copy the narrative from the report and send that to the higher ups to just show them what's happening. So think about that narrative. Then think about your visuals. So don't go crazy with visuals because you're thinking, well, I want to make sure I'm resonating with people. I mean, they need to be strategic in that they focus specifically on what were the goals that you're reporting on, what matters to your client, and then let's take that complex data and make it into a nice visual. And again, visuals, I mean, they're charts. That's all we're talking about here. You don't have to do anything too fancy. And then focus on the impact. So this would actually go into your narrative as well, is instead of just reporting on the data, talk about what that means. So you could report it in terms of your KPIs. So that's just what you're going to use to measure success. But you could also bring in your targets, which a target in what I'm talking about is basically just saying if you were trying to grow revenue from organic search traffic by 20% in Q1, that's your target. Your KPI is basically your revenue from organic traffic. So just kind of understanding that and reporting accordingly. Now let's get into the good news, bad news, because I feel like have all been there. And if you haven't been on the bad news part, you might eventually. And again, that is no fun. So I'm going to, in just a few minutes, show you reports that have both. Good news, oh my gosh, those are so much fun because you can focus on in your narrative, like what you've done in your SEO strategy and your plan, like look at what happened from it. Like what was the impact? Again, showing that measurement of success and where we're achieving those results. Those are great. Now, I'm going to continue with this one before we get on the bad news. You need to do a little bit more too, even on the good news, even though it's all great, always quantify. And you can do, percentages. So I actually had it up here on my bookmark bar, but I took it off. I actually have bookmarked a percentage change calculator because I have a hard time doing that easily. So there's a little calculator I use, but I like to quantify success. I will report the number of, if it's organic traffic and that's what the KPI, I'll show what that was the month prior, what we're doing now. And a lot of times I'll show year over year, but I'll quantify it. I'll talk about the percentage change, and it's great to show. And I'll show you this in just a little bit. I will show not just a comparison to the last period, which might have been just the previous month or previous 30 days. I'll show a bigger picture. How have we done year over year? And if you've been with that client a long time, you might even have a bar graph that shows each year you've been working with them. How did you do in January? How did you do in February? And so the quantify it is where I'm getting. So good news, that's fun, right? But has anyone ever had to report bad news? Yeah, that's a little bit more difficult. And we know there's a lot of things that are out of our control. We can't control when Google makes all their algorithm changes. We can't control our competitors if all of a sudden they've just really kicked up their search marketing. We can't control that. We can only control our own website, but we know that. And so it's difficult sometimes to communicate to a client that, yes, we might have had a drop in rankings or traffic, but this is why. And so you need to provide context. So help your client understand the situation. Why did this happen? And if you don't know why it happened, because I'll be honest, sometimes I don't know. I don't have an answer right away. I've got to dig in even more. I'll let clients know that, we've seen a drop. We think it's because of this, and I'll even put it in the reporting, but we're going to spend the next few weeks digging in and doing more research and coming up with a solution. And that's where the honesty with optimism. be optimistic, but be transparent. So they're going to know if there was a drop in rankings. Well, maybe rankings not so much unless, they are digging a little bit more on the keyword side, but they'll notice a difference in traffic. And of course, if they're getting online revenue, they'll notice that change. So be transparent about what's happening. Be transparent about the challenges. But you don't want to just report challenges. You need to report what are you planning to do? And so how are you going to address those issues? That is really important. And that leads to action steps. So whether you're reporting good news or bad news, you need to always get into the what's next. What are we planning to do? And so that's something that comes up a lot. And again, just from my experience, even if it's good news, you're still going to get the question of, well, how do we sustain this? Or does this mean that we're just going to be at a plateau? We did better, but we're not going to go up any even more. And so you need to have those action steps. What do you plan to do to improve? So let's get into reporting. So now, again, there's a little psychology, just understanding the concepts, but it's really important to understand how does this mean, or what does this mean to you in a more tactical standpoint? So let me go ahead and get you in to my next tab, and I'm going to share this tab instead. So there we go. Now, for transparency on my side, I am using Google Merchandise Store. So, I can't show client data. So I'm working here with the demo account. So just bear with me, but it's all the same things that I would do in a report. So what I'm going to start with is the bad news. So we're going to just say this is a bad news report because actually it is. And so this is based on real data from GA4 for the Google Merchandise Store. So what I would do and how I got here was just going straight to the reporting within SE ranking. And this is just the way I do things is for my monthly reports, because mainly what we do in my organization is SEO. I start with the SEO report template. And so you'll see that within SE ranking is that there is a SEO report template. From there, what I do though, depending on the client, is I will go ahead and I will just modify what I include just based on what you see here on the left side. And so there's some things that I might take out because I know that the client be overwhelming to them, or there's things I might put in just based on knowing the client. And so that is really easy to do right here in all of these. So clicking on Google Analytics, you have different options. Google Search Console. Now this client, it's Google Merchandise Store, but I didn't do Google Ads because again, we mainly do SEO, but you could put all of these things in. But again, I'm going to focus on what I would report on. So it's really, again, easy to do. What you're going to see in this report here, it's a title page. You're going to see some text I added. You'll see an overview, traffic. You'll see some performance metrics. So let's get right in. So I have this branded. I personally always include a table of contents. I just feel like people like to see that. It's easier for them to just go to the page they want because again, we don't know if someone's going to be sending this to someone else within their organization. But here's where we get a little more tactical. So I kept talking about a narrative. This is my narrative, and this is how I like to set it up. I like to have my key findings or my highlights. What is the impact on the organization, and what should they do next? Action steps. So if you think about it this way, it's the what, that's the key findings, the why, which is the impact, and the what now, which are the action items. So I will tell you, when I was looking at the Google Merchandise Store, it was a good example for bad news because they did have a decrease in organic sessions and even website clicks. So for a lot of my clients, they do like to measure how many clicks are on their website from Google search. So we use that very often as a KPI. But here I just report, okay, this is the news, a 9% decrease, 11% decrease. That's not great. And then there's more bad news because there's been a decline throughout the last 12 months. I'm not going to hide that from the client. And I start to give a little bit of findings. We know that there's been algorithm changes, and we know it's a highly competitive market. that could have impacted or not impacted many in the industry. But what I do, and this is again just how I go about working with clients, is I do prioritize their keywords. So we prioritize them in priority 1, 2, and 3. And we do clusters, we do other things too. But what we've found is that it's a lot easier with reporting and just not getting too far into the weeds with clients. Is that, okay, for the next few months, we are focusing on these 10 keywords. If we rank for these 10 keywords, that would be amazing. So I do report on that too, and I'll show you what that looks like. But then I get into the impact. Again, what does this mean for the organization? Well, a decline in traffic is, again, transparency. It's going to hurt our ROI, and it's going to hurt how many people are coming to the site, and of course, engagement. But this is where you got to really think about the bad news. I mean, if a client only got the key findings, that's depressing. And then they're going to start questioning you. What makes a difference, in my opinion, between an average really search marketer to an excellent search marketer, of course, it is that knowledge and the results, but it's also how do they communicate? How do they communicate? So letting clients know, like, hey, listen, I've got this. Like, I understand there's bad news, but this is what we're going to do. And that's going to build trust with them. And here's my action items. We're addressing these issues head on, and we're going to do an audit of our SEO strategy. We're looking at the content, and we're going to compare that to the search algorithm updates and see what we can't do to change. We're going to build out a content marketing plan if they hadn't had one, and just the last, being positive. So it's just showing what do you do now. But let's look into the report and what my monthly reports actually look like. So I put my narrative into a summary, but you can put one into each section. So here I have an overview of all traffic, because most of my clients like to see just overall, like how much traffic's going to their site. But because I'm mainly doing SEO, I focus on organic traffic. And so what I like to do with the reports is I make sure that I'm including, so you can see this is organic traffic sessions, which does align with what we have in here. And so I will put that in there with information so that they can see, here's the breakdown of where people are coming from, and here's my number. Now this I added. So I mentioned that a lot of my clients like to see year over year. So I am also a big spreadsheet person. I know that Ben mentioned that too. And I know there's so many fancy tools, but I like spreadsheets. And so I just have a running spreadsheet, and I'll pull the data from SE ranking, and I just store it in there for each month. And I just have this continuous bar graph. And so all I did was screenshot my bar graph, and then I went over here to formatting, and I added it as an image. And then I added a little title to it so that clients can easily see what's happening. Then I always include Google search performance. And so with that, I like to just show the data. But again, this is where the visual comes in. Anyone can glance at this and get a feel for what's happening. And it is comparing some information too. And same thing with impressions. And so I don't use impressions as a KPI, but I do like to just include them just to show clients. And this is where I said I get into the priority keywords. So just us personally as an agency, or me as a professional, there's a lot of keywords that you could report on. I just found that a lot of my clients get overwhelmed. And so I try to just focus on reporting the priority. So what I did within SE ranking is I just created basically a category, and my category is priority. And then I just went ahead and just put the ones that fall within that category into priority. And that's what I configured to report. I do include an audit snapshot most of the time for clients. And so this is also easy to add just by going to these sections and then going to the audit. I don't include, and this is again just me, doesn't mean that you shouldn't. I don't include all the issues because again, I find that my clients get too far into the weeds. So we focus just on the score. That's what we look at, is what is the score. So what does this look like once I save and export it? Well, then it turns into a really nice report that I can just send to clients. I got my branding in there. It's easy for them to look at. If they want to just copy this section and send it to someone in the organization, they can do that, but they have everything they need. So this is my bad news, but I'm going to use another example, and I want to make sure we have time for questions. So I'm mindful of that too, but I want to show you a good news example. So in addition to doing monthly reports, we also, and I'm going to show you, oh, actually, I'm going to show you, I just realized, there you go. This was my PDF that I was looking at. So this is what it would look like when it was exported. So this is the monthly. And again, just super easy to send out with the summary. Now, let me show you what I would do if I was to send a quarterly report. And let me get to that here. Okay. So now I'm in my quarterly. So what I have been doing over the years for clients is we do monthly reports, but we'll also do quarterly reports because that gives the bigger picture of what's happening, I feel like. And it also allows us to pivot if we need to. The quarterly report is often the one that will present to really the C level if they want to have that, or the director level. And so with the quarterly report, focus more on visuals than anything else. And what's really great with SE ranking is that when you set it up, so this I just did actually from scratch, and I'll show you the sections, but when you're setting it up, I set it up with the landscape orientation. So that way when I export it, it looks like a slide presentation. So for here, let me show you. I keep this one a lot cleaner and a lot simpler, just again, because it's at that higher level. Most of the people who are watching or listening to my quarterly report presentation don't want to get too far into all the details. So you'll notice though that this is a good news report, but I still broke it up into the same sections in my narrative: key findings, impact, and action steps. So this still falls along with all the data storytelling that I was talking about ahead of time, where now I have my narrative, but I'm talking to a different audience. And so this was actually something that I changed a little bit of the numbers because I was trying to protect the client, but this is actually from one of our clients. They care first in terms of their KPIs about the number of deals. That's what they refer to them as. And then they also care about the value of closed orders. So they like to know the deals. So that's what's in the pipeline, or part of that is what's open, what's closed. They want to know the total value. And the other thing, and you might have clients like this too, they want to know what their ROI is on your cost. And so this is one of those clients. So they're like, well, we've been spending money with you on SEO. How are we doing? And so I report those numbers. And then again, you see my priority keywords. So you see the what. So those are my key findings. These are the things they care about. But what's the impact? And so, of course, I had to point out that there was a high ROI on SEO spend, but then some other things. What does this mean? It's better for the pipeline. We're building credibility and authority. But I can't just leave it there because a question comes up. Well, what now? And so that's where those action steps come in. So we always include that. So I do want to run through this with you a bit. So with this particular report, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's all done, I kept it really simple because these are going to end up being slides. And so bring in terms of formatting, I brought in my actually text is what I did for this one, so I can make it really big. Then I brought in just the overview, again, trying to keep it simple. I don't want too much on here because again, it's a slide presentation and I'm going to be talking to it. Then it's really easy. You just put in your page break. So this one I did again from scratch. And then I got into organic traffic. So again, focusing more on the visuals than anything else. But remember, this is a quarterly report. So I'm going to have the full quarter. Now for search performance, as much as I like to give a lot of details, I know my audience isn't going to care about that for this particular report. So I just focus on what are the clicks, the impressions, click-through rate. But for this one, I do show, instead of listing all of the priority keywords, I just give a nice little bar graph instead, or sorry, pie chart. So just again, keep it simple. I can talk to it, but they can see it instead. So this is where I feel like I got a little bit of creative, and I just actually got this visual, this graphic from one of the stock photo sites. I found that when I'm talking to the executive level, sometimes it's confusing, like when we're talking about all the SEO things like technical work, content, link attraction. I call it link attraction instead of link building, or on-page optimization. And so I ended up going on a stock photo site. I found these little gears. I don't know what you call that, like this speedometer thing. But I thought this would be a really easy way to show when I'm talking of how we're doing in each category. So for this one at the time on page optimization, we had done that. Like we had gone through the site, every page was optimized. That was a green. Link attraction, we were still working on it. And we were having it was just a slower going. So I wanted to be honest about that. So I put that as a yellow. Content, I put as a red because I was really trying to show the challenges we were having in terms of trying to get them as the client to okay content being added to their site. And then technical work, we had a green because we had done that. So I had areas of challenges to show the client, and then I listed them here, but they could easily see it in a visual. But as I mentioned to you, you want to go beyond just what are the problems into what is the next steps. And so this is where they're talking points, but I could get into we see the issues we're having. They saw the visual, but you know what? We're going to be working on a competitor analysis. We're working on a keyword strategy. We have a plan to go after new priority keywords. We're working on a PR initiative to get more backlinks, and we're going to do it with podcasts and then getting into the content plan too. But let me show you then what this looks like if I was presenting this again to an executive level. So, all right, here we go. So for this, now I've got just from what I've created in SE ranking, because I had it really situated as slides, I can just pull it out and I'm ready to go, ready to share this to a client. It's a nice presentation. It's really easy to follow. I can talk through it. I got, all my visuals in here, my narratives. I can show search performance. I have a nice graph to show here or a chart for my rankings. I can visually show them our areas of challenges, and then I can get into the solutions. And so that is really, it's a good news example, but it's even how I go about working on the quarterly. So I know everyone's different, but that's how I do things. But to bring it all back together, when it comes to, and I'm going to go back to my presentation just to show you really the end. When it comes to all of this, how do we do it? Well, we're going to use a narrative. We're going to use our visuals wisely, and we're going to focus on that impact. And what I don't have on here, but what I've said over and over, is we need to also think about our audience. By doing that, you're going to have reporting that's going to help you keep those clients for the long term. So with that, I'd like to open it up if there's questions. I know I tend to talk a lot because I've been a professor for a really long time.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. It's a robust reporting process that you go through, but I love how you started with the psychology of who's reading this content and their stakeholder, their buy-in of these reports. And I'm going to take advantage of my role here and ask you a quick question before we go over to some of the questions that are asking, because we do reporting a lot over on our side of the fence here. Pardon me. There's a good deal of charts that we can actually bring into a report here. But I do find sometimes that if we put too many charts in, based on the aptitude of the client, they can get a bit upset because they don't believe that they should be interpreting the charts, right? So a bit of a space where a little bit of dialogue along with what they're seeing in these charts has helped us immensely just be able to get across the point. So it's not only visualization, but also almost like a little chorus that's going along with the presentation. This is what this means. This is what this means.
Yes.
Have you found that as a valuable tactic?
Absolutely. So when it comes to the graphs, and I'll tell you a personal story, I have a complex in terms of, did I label, if I did a bar graph, did I label the axes? Because I got beat up by one client over and over and over again if I forgot to say sessions or something like that, where I'm like, well, isn't it obvious? Because the slide itself said sessions, but they're like, it doesn't say that on the chart. So yes. And a lot of times too, because my quarterly report is what I tend to put a lot, even more visuals too, is in terms of the outside graphics or bar charts and all of that, is I usually will put a bullet point on there, even if I'm going to be talking through it, so that they know what it is. But you can't assume, and it doesn't mean that the client's not intelligent. It's just
Of
not
course.
their world.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Just asking them to be in that space. And I mean, we have the curse of knowledge, unfortunately, and we all can get there where we don't label that. Isn't it obvious what we're talking about here?
Yeah,
And
right.
that can actually be I always try to navigate data points, either positive or negative data points in just relationship with clients.
Right.
And these reports can even though you're saying some positive things, the data points of the relationship can actually weigh against you unless you're really shepherding the communication along with that. So there's a lot of additional features that are customization in the SE ranking report where you
Yes.
can put that dialogue in there, right?
Absolutely. And so when I showed even the monthly report, there was the bar graph, and I didn't have necessarily the narrative underneath, but I just had, year over year sessions, all the things that put organic traffic, but absolutely. And so you can just put bullet points. And that's what's really great too with SEO ranking, is that when you're adding things, it's really easy to add the text as well.
Absolutely. It's a great report with a lot of tie-ins here. Do you find yourself well, let me ask you this. Last one. I promise it's the last
No,
one.
you ask away, ask away.
Do you how do you handle clients that actually hover over their own keywords,
Mm,
their own trophy words, and they're not realizing that they are being served up their SERPs by their location, by their logged in preferences,
mhm.
right? How do you help them get off that particular cliff? And because if they're in disbelief, well, I see it right here, I'm not ranking here, but your ranking report shows us there. How do you actually help mitigate that issue?
Yeah. Oh gosh, I think we all feel that pain because it happens all the time. Well, the CEO said when he looked it up and see it. And so with that, I mean, it is a lot of education, and it is a lot of repeating of, this is how it works. This is how what you're seeing in the report is based on the true, position within the index. What you're looking at is all these figures or outside factors that are putting into your personalization. So for me, it is just a lot of education. But I'll give you an example to take it a step further. I had one client that was convinced for a while that voice search was killing them and that they weren't even showing up and all of this. Like, it got so much to the point, this was a few years ago, that I actually had to do on Alexa at home, like,
Oh,
show them, like, I recorded it and I sent it. I'm like, no, you do. Like, if someone's asking for directions or, the address of your location, it is there, but they just didn't believe me. And I sent that, and I actually never heard anything after that. I never heard of it. Even a thank you. It's just like, okay.
yeah. I mean, sometimes you have to do that. You have to go out of the box of the report, do
Yeah.
screenshots and what have
Right.
you. But
Mhm.
it's that shepherding of the expectations, but
Yeah.
also knowing what really matters to the client, because
Right.
everything else, all the data, clients can actually get a pushback because they're in data overload.
Mhm.
And that's
Exactly.
also a tough thing because they can perceive an SEO company kind of hiding behind that data
Mhm.
because they have to interpret so much. So it's a good space to be able to shepherd that client all the way
Right.
through. Yeah,
Right. And it's what you said, it's relationships. So listening to them, that's what they care about. Make sure you are coherent of that and you're educating them.
absolutely. I'm going to pivot over to the audience. I have a couple questions for you. Seb Haas says, "Hey Mindy, what's the one thing that you never leave out of a report, no matter what?"
Because we're doing SEO, even if the client doesn't care about organic traffic, I always put that in. I never take it out because I can still, in my narrative, explain how that does tie to their KPIs. There's the obvious ones, obviously, that's very deep. But there's the obvious ones where, okay, more traffic means potential revenue. And so that one I never leave out to answer that question.
Okay. Well, absolutely. That's obvious, right?
Yep.
Sorry. Had to do it. Paulina says, "Thank you very much, Mindy. Which departments do you collaborate with to collect your impact
Mm,
and ROI data? How do you structure these conversations?"
yeah, that's a really good question. And so I for my business and what we do, we are usually with the marketing, not usually, we're always with the marketing department. I mean, that's who we're working with now at different levels within the marketing department. But what I ask for to be able to get that ROI data, if it's not already in Google Analytics where it's set up, if they're e-commerce, it's easy enough. We can see revenue. But if it's like the quarterly example, we had to look at their particular CRM, and they gave us access to their CRM
Mhm.
to be able to look at certain reports. And so that's where we get the data. And so, but I'll tell you, not every client will do that. And so we do have to rely on them to give us the information. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But most of them, the more they trust you, they're going to give you that because they want to succeed and they want to be able to measure things too.
Absolutely. And the biggest thing is to be able to have that attribution model
Right.
all the way through that transaction.
Mhm.
So not only the initial revenue from said
Right.
efforts, but also the
Mhm.
return revenue that it kind of embodies the life cycle of that
Yeah.
customer with them, because it's not just the first purchase,
Mhm.
it's the entire life cycle.
Right. It's the customer lifetime value really is where that comes in.
Another question from Homer. He says, how do you tailor reports for clients who are very detailed oriented versus who just wants the overview?
Right. So, and I have clients in both camps. And so, what I do, I mean, that I need to know who's getting the report,
Mhm.
who's this report going to? And so, and then I will, I'm just going to be totally transparent with everything. Sometimes it's through trial and error because I'll send one report and they're like, I need more, I need more. And then, well, their monthly report's going to be pretty big and robust, by the end of it. And so, but I like to know who it's going to, because if it's
Mhm.
going to more than one person and one person wants the overview and one person wants the detail oriented side of things, that's when that narrative that I showed you really comes into play, because you can put that narrative and that's for the person who just wants the overview. Like, give me the short version, but then you have all of those details and the pages if someone wants to dig into the data. And then from there, like in SEO ranking, how I was showing you, you can put like a summary for each section. So that's really for that person who wants to be detail oriented.
Excellent. Thank you very much. It's almost like you're echolocating the reporting consumer who's going to be receiving that. Have you ever thought about actually putting through all the reports like a disc model of different character types and have like 4 different versions that
You're
choose your own
honest.
adventure?
Right. Seriously. Yeah.
All right. Well, Mindy, thank you very much. We certainly appreciate the insight and reportings, and I highly appreciate the insight from a psychology level,
Mhm.
because sometimes reportings are an afterthought,
Right.
and they really should be the kind of the first stage, even as you
Mhm.
land the engagement, how you're going to discuss this all the way through. Right.
Right.
Excellent. Well, with that, let's pivot around. I want to make sure that everybody knows about the continued platform that we've got here, the extended free trial here at SEO platform, who for everybody, consumer research, competitor research, website audits, keyword rank tracking, agency pack, and 30 plus tools. If you use that QR code on the screen, you can actually get an extended trial of this platform. On top of that, if you sign up right now and don't use your personal email, but your business email, you can actually get more out of your trial. Some things that are not available in their personal email that are, you get up to 60 keyword lists, 30,000 keywords to be able to track. You also get expanded limits and more. You can also have the ability to export your daily reports. So go over to that QR code that we had there, and then jump in for that extended trial. All right. We want to make sure as we wrap this up that we get over to the Do Follow podcast, SEO Rankings, Do Follow podcast, SEO Insights with industry leaders, in-depth discussions with SEOs and digital marketers. You can actually explore some pretty hot topics inside of SEO. They got a good deal of a number of podcasts behind them, so they're constantly moving new information in front of you, and you can get some really actionable insights from their podcast. You can also stay updated and stay ahead in the SEO community, so subscribe and be able to boost up your SEO game. All right, so I'm going to pivot around here and bring our panelists back into a quick run through, and for everybody who stayed on the webinar, certainly appreciate that. We got all the panelists here, and I wanted to open up the forum for some quick Q&A here, and we'll kind of navigate this as we appreciate our audience sticking around for the entire piece here. One thing I'm just going to kind of set the stage here as a question, as I've heard it from all the different panelists here. Something that really dawned on me, folks, is that you all represent part of the ecosystem of the marketing campaign, and you all have your own individual agencies. But strategically, we had proposal, the keyword analysis and work and project build out, as well as the reports, right? So something that actually comes through all of this is the commitment of what your goals are and following through the goals all the way to the reporting process, and continue to affirm with the client, this is what we started out with, this is how we're navigating it, and this is what we're reporting. So can you, in your experience, give me some examples of possible challenges in the model that you create? Because you present this model, everything's thought through, and everything's fantastic except for the client. The client can actually get a little bit squirrely on us. So Ben, I'm going to go to you first before anything else. Keywords are always being challenged by the clients. How do you keep that thread going all the way through?
The first thing I try to do is to break down this silly idea that keywords are not things you put into websites to make SEO happen. That's just fundamentally not how that works.
They're not coins in the slot. Okay,
they're not coins in the slot. They're not tags you put into some metadata somewhere and suddenly magic SEO. No, it's about understanding the audience. It's a replacement for focus groups. It's a replacement for going out and meeting with your audience. It is understanding the language that they speak. And the hardest point I have to get across, and this happens regularly, is your website is not for you, it's for them.
Ooh.
The whole point of this is to speak in their terms. And the only way I can do that without coming to verbal blows or diplomatic solutions is to just present the facts and to just say, look, we will use numerous tools. Right. We will use Google Search Console. We will use SE ranking. We will use any tool you want us to do, but we will show you why your audience is searching for these things. And then we'll help you to understand the context of it. We'll help you to understand the reasoning by it. There might be some etymology to the way that the language has changed in UK or US or different sort of audiences. To say, well, look, there is a reason why they don't speak the language you think they do. And it's because you're detached from them. But that's why we're here. We're here to represent them. And through this process, our goal is to just, as Mindy greatly says, just educate. It's just to educate the client. And sometimes you have to let them make that realization for themselves by presenting them with the data, explaining what you think happens and how this thing transpires, and then let them just take that on board. Often they don't agree in the meeting, and there will be grumbles, and there will be, okay, and there won't be any sort of clarification. And then a short while later, they'll come back and say, I've been having a look through this data, and I think this might be the case. Yes, great, good insights. Not at all prompted, but I'm glad you came up with the idea, however it was incepted.
Excellent, sir. And I appreciate the analogy. We're kind of translating their audience to them because they don't have the tools. Connor, you kind of represent the while we're still friends conversation whenever you begin a new engagement with a client. So how do you consistently keep the thread of what we set up as goals, we continued in the process, and we reported on those goals? How do you keep that client in line?
Yeah, so in part, we try to record everything. Expansive client briefs and, recording these calls, listing out their KPIs. And we demonstrate this sort of common understanding throughout multiple calls leading up to the kickstart of the campaign. So, from these initial discovery calls before they're even a client on to the actual discovery call where we learn more information about their business, recap certain things that were discussed during these initial sales conversations that, are important to them, that they're going to keep an eye on to demonstrate, was this a smart investment? Are you the right people to handle my marketing? And then through to, again, reiterating these on the kickoff calls. And then in terms of the reporting, we do monthly reporting with our clients. We have a dashboard that I mentioned where they're able to log in and see all of these things. And that's where it gets interesting with every client because, everyone has certain things that they care about, like you mentioned. And so that's like one of the harder things when you're trying to create a scalable process to deliver, consistent productivity to every client. The reporting is where it gets tricky, and it's on kind of like a per individual basis. What do they care about? What do they want to see? How involved are they in terms of even, like one thing that we like to do is go through the leads that came in this week or this month and qualifying. Was this good? What was the value behind it? Did they convert? So that we can say, this is money that's coming in through your investment.
That's
Not
right.
everyone likes to do that. So, you'll get that phone call 9 months down the road, like, we've gotten nothing. You're like, well, let's take a look.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Mendy, to you, you're also part of the entire ecosystem from start to finish here. Any other additional insights from how do we keep that constant, consistent, not only strategy, but reporting, but also making sure that client's not bucking out of the stall, wanting to be able to run across the field and go cherry pick an ebook and tell us that that's the way to go?
Yeah. Well, and I was going to I'll answer that and to add to it, because I'm sure no one's ever experienced this where your client's the roadblock. They know what they need to do, but they don't do it.
Right.
Because that might happen a few times. So yeah, I mean, obviously the educating, all that stuff helps with, like, if they're reading something and we need to try this, bringing it back to, this is what our strategy is. And so if you noticed in my quarterly report, because that was actually, it was hypothetical, but not, because it was actually something we went through with a client of the challenges. And so we actually had to show them, because the question we would get is, why is this competitor doing better than us? Why do they keep outranking us? Why, you get those a lot. And so we actually dug in and showed them, your competitor has this amount of pages. This is how often they're creating new content. You're not creating any content, despite the fact that we've been giving you these blueprints and telling you. And so that's a challenge. And that's where my little red, that's where that came from with the red. We're on red because of this. And so I didn't show it here, but I actually had followed up after that quarterly report with here's what they have, here's what you have, and just putting it side by side. And so that's helped, because you talk about your goals and KPIs in the very beginning, the proposal stage, and then you work through, your keywords and all of those things, strategy, but then the reporting is where they're going to start asking all the questions. And so
and they're always wanting to be able to see a quick turnaround. And sometimes you're trying to steer a barge as opposed to a speedboat here. So you got to be able to give that context. All right, I'm going to turn it over to the audience here. One quick question from Josephine Allard. Got any tips for quickly spotting high impact, low effort SEO opportunities using SE ranking? Oh, it's a jump ball. I can see that. If you all say it depends at the same time, we're going to unplug it right now.
3, 2.
Ben, what do you think about some low effort, high yield SEO opportunities?
Definitely go back to that sort of competitor analysis or Google Search Console look into your own website. Where are you nearly there for? There are so many instances where clients are kind of, their SERP is 12. It's like, you don't need to go very far to suddenly start seeing traffic. Even for high volume search traffic, the moment you're outside of 10 or even sometimes outside of 5 or 6, it drops off a cliff. So genuinely look for search keywords that have search volume that's reasonable, respectable, but you're just outside of the top 10. And the closer you are to the top 10, but outside of it, the quicker you're going to get that turnaround. There are exceptions. The top 10 might be entirely impossible to compete with, but that's unusual. It's more often the case that if you're in position 12, you could probably be position 7 or 8.
Not with a terrible effort. I mean, it literally is.
It really is. You're kind of really close to being there.
Yep.
And it might even be that you just need to rewrite a page.
There you go.
For the sake of rewriting a page, you get instant real world return.
Yeah. To add to that, one of the tactics we've been employing to great success is you look at those pages that are maybe on page 2. They're already indexed and ranking for the terms that you want them to rank for. It has great search volume. One of the ways that we approach those is we'll see which ones have SERP features, like featured snippet features. Look at the featured snippet that's actually ranking for it, reverse engineer the exact thing they're doing. So is the featured snippet a part of a table of contents at the bottom of the page? Is it the opening, sentence to introduce the article? What sort of metadata is behind it? Is it followed by an H3 title tag and an H2 in the FAQs or whatever? And I know, Ben, you mentioned you don't use AI, but drop that thing in some chat GPT.
I use it for a lot of things. I just don't use that particular AI tool.
Working some synonyms, some common phraseology, and yeah, that's actually been working pretty well for us in terms of, you'd be surprised. You go from like a position of 12 right up into that future snippet spot in a matter of weeks.
Absolutely, Mindy. Some low effort, high yield results there.
Yeah. And so I was, the first thing that popped in my head was what Ben said, because we always go to Google Search Console. That's half the battle. I mean, if Google recognizes your page, you're like, okay, now we just need to work on it. So I'll add something different to the mix, because it's one of the other things we do is like within SEO ranking, and this comes back to keywords. When we're looking at keywords, we don't necessarily discount the ones that are low search volume, because if we notice that there's low search volume, but people are paying for that in the paid search, to me, that's an aha moment. That's an ROI. And especially then if it's low difficulty as well, like we're going to go after it. Now, what we'll do from there is we're going to look at that. What is the search intent? If it's informational, then we're not going to be pushing a product page or a service page. We're going to create a robust piece of informational content on their blog. And so that's what we'll look at. And that's been really great too, because you're still to have challenges, but it's a bit easier. And then you can show, going back to what I was talking about with partying, like there is ROI, like we're going to get some sales from this.
One of the things I found is if you actually take all of the PAAs in a particular industry or a particular search intent, and you show your client all of the answers that are on the PAAs and kind of a lineup going, hey, do you think you could answer these a little bit better? My God, they get furious, because all of a sudden they know that, yes, we are a specialty at this, this, and this. And that's an idiotic answer. And all of a sudden you got buy-in galore. Okay, well, if you're going to do that, then help us write these 20 new pages that can go after the PAAs and the rich snippets. So you got to give them a little bit of FOMO in the space, right? All right, so we got a question here. Let's see here. I have a question about how do you really dig into a competitor's strategy without getting overwhelmed by the data? I'll toss it to Connor.
I don't know, man. I could
That's the honest answer.
You get started on it, and you'll find 5 hours have passed, and you're like, I should have been doing something.
that is the rabbit hole of all rabbit holes, right?
I don't know if I'm going to have a good answer for you, because that's literally what happens all the time. I would say use your filters in your tools, especially if you're teasing out keywords that you're focusing on. Go for the low competition. Look for low competition. Look for those with good search volume. Like Mindy said, if you're pushing any sort of like commercial or transactional web page, look for those keywords with low difficulty. Even if they don't have high search volume, if they're being bid on, it's a good indicator that people are searching that to actually make a purchase. So if you can focus on that and not get carried away, like I'm sure most of us do, you could save some time. But yeah,
we all understand. We know that we've been in our dark holes and looking at hours and hours of data.
And then all of a sudden you get that like, oh my God, I forgot about this part, and then you're back in it.
Yep. Oh, there's another compcompetitor and another competitor. Mindy, help us out here. How do we contain this and not getting lost in the data?
I know. I was laughing because I was just thinking about our competitor reports, and we actually just finished a huge one that took forever, because you do get like pretty far down into it. And the client came back of like, oh, can you do these 2 more? Like, oh gosh, they're like, sure. But I will add, pivot tables are very nice. That always helps when you're trying to analyze it a little bit in a cleaner fashion. But I'm going to actually just take the client, like again, because I'm going to focus on reporting here. Don't send the client just the massive spreadsheets. Just don't. Okay. And you're like, well, yeah, duh. Okay. Well, I may or may not have done that before, but they just look at it and they're like, I don't even know what to do from this. So you're going to go down on the weeds. I don't think there's any way around it. It does take a while. But I like the idea of using filters. That's a huge thing. Use pivot tables, use the tools available to you. But when you're actually sending it to the client, just give them just a handful of, here's the findings, here's what we're going to do because of it. And just leave it at that.
Give them the action items that tie directly to those findings.
Yeah.
And I'll add in there is that if a client comes to you going, hey, let's have a look at this competitor, you got to be able to say, well, that's not really your competitor because of this, and this. Yeah, they may be bubbling up to the surface, but you know what? Some of your competitors are not who you think they are because of the intent of the query. You're up against some Wikidata. You're up against a number of other spaces in which it's not that brick and mortar competitor. It's they're meeting the answer, meeting the query, and also giving additional information to be able to build that user journey deeper into their website. So your competitors really the ones that are answering the questions, not the ones that are lined up in the on the balance sheet as a true competitor. Anyway, that said, any final thoughts for our audience before we let you all go? We do appreciate your time today. Ben, final thoughts.
I mean, I was just going to add one last little bit to that, which is we're all in the service industry. We've all got deadlines. We've all got timeframes. We've all got a limited amount of time. If I'm given a task where I know it's a X amount of research and I've got X amount of hours, I'll break it down to the core components, give myself a timeline. And it's just like running a race. It's like, you got to pace yourself. You know, if you have an hour to do competitive research, that's not a lot of time. If you have a day, you can go a bit more detailed. And so depending on that will depend on whether I kind of go light, quick touches and quick snap decisions where you just have to make a decision there and then, make some choices and move on, go to the next thing. It's okay if you're doing it the first time around, because SEO isn't once and done, because it's ongoing. If you just make decisions and just start doing things based on the data that you have and the time that you have available, you'll get more stuff the next time you do this. And so for me, it's just don't overthink it. Don't over worry. Don't worry if you've missed something out. You will catch it next time. And it's much better that we work within the time constraints we have and we don't spend all of our time researching one particular thing and leaving nothing left for other important tasks like writing the content. So, yeah, which has happened.
Connor, final thoughts?
Yeah, I would say, going back to the whole competitive research thing, it's going to be ongoing throughout the entire campaign. You'll use it to create that roadmap and the framework for the campaign based on who you've identified and how you've, analyzed their strategies. Once you map out the content you need to create, identify the pages that you need to optimize, you're going to go back and do more research just to, realign your brain, and you're going to learn new things. So like Ben said, don't, give yourself some barriers. Don't overdo it. You're going to keep doing the competitive research, every time you're doing one of the deliverables. So.
And let alone as things change in the SERP, right?
Yeah, I mean,
just more choppy waters.
Natural, so.
Absolutely. Mindy, I'll give you the final thought for the webinar today.
Yeah, and this is a lot broader, but I've been in this industry a long time, and so there's really two things that I want to say. So no matter how experienced you are, how many years you have under your belt, always keep learning, because things change. I'm always trying to learn and never going to be at the point where I feel like, oh, I know everything. And so attending, webinars like this is important. And then also, I think the other thing, what's so amazing, I feel like, about our search marketing industry is that it is a community. So, reach out to people, reach out to us, whether it's on LinkedIn or on X, whatever it might be, but there's a really good support system too. So you're not in it alone, any of it. You've got people who understand you.
Absolutely.
Except for the client sometimes.
Except for the client. They're not part of it. We're not including them.
It is great whenever you do come across a client that really gets it. Because then you're in a whole nother stratosphere. Say, oh yeah, playing the playground over here. This is really cool.
There's a very good reason my clients are now the people who do the SEO. I teach and train because I just avoid that entire part of the puzzle. It's just like, I'm just going to work with the people doing the SEO. There you go.
There you go. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for your time today. We truly do appreciate it. We also want to make sure that you follow SE Ranking on all the different channels, but go over to the YouTube channel as well. This is where this is housed, but they're regularly posting materials to be able to help you advance your SEO and SE Ranking journey. Again, from SE Ranking, thank you so much for everybody, all the panelists here. And I certainly do appreciate the honor to be able to moderate this webinar. So thank you so much, SE Ranking. With that, I think we're wrapped. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Take care.